What if the world you thought you knew was only a thin veil hiding truths too strange, too elusive to ever fully understand? Across the centuries, we've split atoms, mapped the stars, and walked on the moon, yet some questions remain untouched by time. How can entire civilizations vanish without a trace? Why do some people disappear only to return with no memory or stories of places that shouldn't exist? What force, seen or unseen, writes the rules that even science dares not question? These are not tales from fiction, nor fragments of forgotten myths. They are real accounts studied, documented, and still unsolved. From the eerie hums echoing across the earth with no origin to cryptic messages carved in stone long before history began, these mysteries challenge everything we believe about reality, time, and ourselves. So tonight, as the world around you begins to fade into sleep, let your mind drift where logic falters and questions take flight. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the most chilling, fascinating mysteries the world still can't explain. Beneath the endless sky of Egypt's western desert, far from the well-worn paths of the Nile Valley, lies a land that time nearly forgot. Here in the Baharia Oasis, an island of life surrounded by seas of sand, the wind whispers through ancient palms, carrying with it secrets buried for millennia. It was 1996, when a chance stumble in this desolate place would reveal one of the most remarkable archaeological finds of the 20th century, just beyond the modest town of Bawiti. While excavating a Greco-Roman temple, an Egyptian antiquities team led by Dr. Zahi Hawass broke into a hidden chamber. Inside they found not one but dozens of human remains, mummies preserved with astonishing care, many still wearing golden masks that glinted in the desert light. As the team expanded their search, they realized they were standing atop something vast. They had uncovered the entrance to what would become known as the Valley of the Golden Mummies. The site stretches across nearly 6 square kilometers of sandy terrain, an immense necropolis believed to have been in use between the 1st century BCE and the 3rd century CE during Egypt's Greco-Roman period. Thousands of mummies, possibly up to 10,000, are thought to lie beneath the ground here, entombed in family chambers, some stacked floor to ceiling. But it's not just the scale that astonishes. It's the detail, the richness, the contradiction. Many of the mummies are adorned with elaborate cartonnage, a mixture of linen and plaster, painted in brilliant colors and gilded with gold leaf. Their faces are serene, yet stylized, often framed by divine symbols. The falcon-headed Horus, the jackal Anubis, the winged goddess Isis. Chest plates depict scenes from the Book of the Dead, suggesting a complex belief in the afterlife. Who were these people? What brought such a concentration of wealth to this isolated corner of the desert? Traditionally, the answer has been straightforward. These were members of a prosperous community during a time of Roman influence. Baharia, situated along desert trade routes, served as a key outpost for commerce, particularly in wine, dates, and minerals. It was a place where Roman citizens and Egyptian elites intermingled, a melting pot of cultures, customs, and belief systems. The golden masks symbolized the divine transformation of the deceased, echoing an older Egyptian tradition to become one with the gods in death, just as Osiris had. And yet, for every logical explanation, there remain unsettling questions. Why, for instance, are so many mummies buried so close together across such a vast and organized space, yet without obvious markers or written records? No comprehensive tomb inscriptions, no grand temples to anchor the necropolis, just hundreds of sealed chambers hidden beneath the sand. Moreover, not all the mummies fit the mold of elite burial. Some are wrapped simply in linen, their faces uncovered, bodies hastily interred. Others are encased in anthropoid clay coffins devoid of ornamentation, suggesting that despite the presence of wealth, there may have been a hurriedness to the burials or something else entirely. Could an unknown catastrophe, plague, conflict, or political collapse have led to mass burials? Might the valley have served not just as a cemetery, but as a final resting place for a community lost to time? More fringe theorists have proposed even stranger possibilities. Some suggest that the valley might be connected to a deeper esoteric tradition, an echo of older pre-dynastic rites hidden in the desert long before recorded history. Others draw links to the mysterious lost libraries of the ancient world, or to legends of sacred burial grounds where the elite guarded forbidden knowledge. Of course, these claims lack firm evidence, and yet the sheer scale and mystery of the site invite speculation. Archaeologists have only excavated a fraction of the valley. The harsh desert conditions and the delicate nature of the finds make exploration slow and painstaking. But with every new chamber opened, new questions are unearthed. In one tomb, the mummified remains of a young boy were discovered, wearing a golden mask far too ornate for his age or apparent status. In another, two women were found side by side, one lavishly adorned, the other entirely bare, except for a painted symbol on her chest, a scarab with wings spread wide. Their relationship is unknown. And then there is the issue of the silence. No written archive has ever been found explaining who organized this necropolis or why. It appears on no maps of the time. There is no known historical reference to a city of the dead in Bahariya. For a site that could hold over 10,000 individuals, its absence from the historical record is unsettling. How could something so vast, so carefully constructed exist in total silence? As the sun sets over the dunes, casting long shadows across the weathered sands, the Valley of the Golden Mummies remains a place suspended between worlds. Between what we know and what we can only guess, it is a place where memory has faded, but presence lingers. A silent city where the dead do not sleep, but wait, endlessly still, golden-eyed, watching. What else lies beneath the sand? And how much of our history is still waiting to be found? As we leave behind the windswept sands of Egypt, where golden masks whisper the forgotten names of the dead, we now journey north to the rolling hills of Tuscany. The desert gives way to green valleys and winding cypress roads, and nestled within the quiet countryside near the town of Chiusdino stands a modest circular chapel, its stone walls faded by centuries, its interior still and cool. This is the chapel of Montepi, and within its sanctuary lies a relic so improbable, so steeped in legend, that it continues to defy both time and explanation. A sword not displayed in a glass case, but embedded in solid stone. Not a replica nor a ceremonial piece, but an actual iron blade driven deep into a bedrock of travertine. Its hilt and partial shaft, still visible above the surface, worn with age, its metal darkened, yet unmistakably real. It is known as the Sword in the Stone of Montepi. And while it may call to mind tales of King Arthur and Camelot, this artifact is no myth. It is real, it is ancient, and it is still there. The story begins in the 12th century with a man named Galano Gdote. A knight by birth, Galgano was said to have lived a life of pride and violence until, according to the accounts of the time, he experienced a sudden and profound spiritual vision. In this vision, the Archangel Michael appeared to him, guiding him toward a new life of peace, humility, and devotion. As the tale goes, Galano resisted, insisting that abandoning his sword and status was impossible. To prove his point, he drew his weapon and struck it downward into the hard rock of a nearby hillside, expecting it to rebound. Instead, the sword sank into the stone effortlessly, splitting the rock like soft earth. Interpreting this as a sign from the divine, Galano took up a hermit's life. He built a small shelter on the site, dedicating himself to prayer and solitude until his death in 1181. Shortly thereafter, the site was deemed sacred. A chapel was erected around the sword to preserve it. Within a century, Galano was canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church. Today, nearly 850 years later, the sword remains in the same place, its blade buried in the stone beneath a protective glass case at the center of the chapel floor. And yet, despite the legend's religious overtones, the questions it raises are far from resolved. Could a medieval knight truly have plunged a real sword into solid rock? If not, how did it get there? For centuries, many assumed the sword was symbolic, a crafted object inserted into a pre-cut slot in the rock as a visual metaphor for Galano's renunciation of violence, a pious fable made literal for pilgrims and the faithful. But in 2001, a team of researchers from the University of Pavia conducted an analysis of the metal and the surrounding stone. Their findings were surprising. The sword was confirmed to be from the 12th century, consistent with the time of Galano's life. Ground-penetrating scans revealed that the blade continues several feet below the surface, suggesting it was indeed driven deeply into the natural stone, not placed into a prepared cavity. Even more curiously, soil analysis beneath the chapel revealed 2 human skeletons buried near the sword, their identities unknown. Were they followers of Galano pilgrims, or part of a forgotten chapter in the chapel's long history? There are those who accept the story of Galano as historical truth, pointing to early church documents, eyewitness accounts, and the physical sword itself as evidence of a divine event. Others view the story as a carefully crafted parable, woven from threads of fact and folklore designed to inspire and instruct. Then there are those who look beyond the traditional narrative. Some scholars have noted parallels between Galano's tale and older myths of sacred weapons, swords and stones, spears with divine power, and heroes called by visions. Could the Montespi sword represent a merging of Christian legend with pre-Christian, possibly even Celtic, ritual traditions still lingering in medieval Italy? Others point to the odd architectural features of the chapel itself. The circular layout is unusual for a 12th century Catholic building, more reminiscent of Templar constructions or earlier pagan sanctuaries. The concentric design, stone dome and geometric layout have led some to speculate that the site may have older roots, perhaps even serving as a sacred place long before Galano's time. And yet, no definitive evidence supports such theories. The chapel's official origin remains firmly tied to the life of one man, a knight who gave up violence and left behind a sword no one can explain. Even the condition of the sword invites further wonder. While the exposed hilt is visibly aged and corroded, the blade's lower section, buried within the rock, is reportedly far better preserved. But due to the site's religious significance and preservation concerns, the sword has never been fully exhumed. What might be found beneath the stone remains unknown. Could there be inscriptions, hidden components? Might the sword have originally belonged to someone of greater importance, perhaps even a figure erased from the historical record? And what of the legends that have grown around it over the centuries? Stories of people who tried to pull the sword free only to fall ill or worse. Curses, miracles, and ghostly visions whispered by locals passed quietly from generation to generation. These accounts may be superstition, or they may be something else. As the candle light flickers across the stone walls of Montepi, casting long shadows beneath the dome, the sword remains still silent, watching, not a symbol of conquest but of surrender. Not a weapon raised, but a weapon set down. It is a relic that invites us to look deeper, not just into history, but into ourselves, into the stories we choose to remember and those we have yet to understand. What truth lies buried in the stone? And how many of our oldest legends are not myths at all, but memories? From the rolling hills of Italy, where a sword sleeps in silence beneath stone, we return once more to the sands of Egypt. But this time, we descend deeper. Beneath collapsed temples, under layers of desert wind and forgotten time, lie tombs untouched for millennia, sealed in darkness, waiting. In recent years, as archaeologists have pushed further into these hidden chambers, strange and delicate objects have begun to emerge. Not statues, not scrolls, but something far more peculiar. Tongues made not of flesh, but of gold, perfectly formed, thin and leaf-like. These tiny gilded artifacts are often placed inside the mouths of the dead, tucked gently between clenched jaws, resting on silent tongues that haven't spoken in thousands of years. They are known as the Golden Tongues of Egypt, and their purpose remains a mystery that no one can fully explain. The phenomenon first came to global attention in 2021 when Egyptian archaeologists excavating near Alexandria in the ancient city of Taposiris Magna uncovered a burial site dating back over 2,000 years. Inside several sarcophagi, they found human remains in varying states of preservation. But what caught the world's attention was not the bones, it was what lay within their mouths, thin foil-like pieces of gold molded to resemble a tongue. Others were found nearby, placed beside or beneath the skull. In some tombs, the gold tongue was the only ornament unaccompanied by amulets, jewelry, or orrery statues. In others, it was part of a richer burial, elaborately wrapped bodies, gilded masks, and detailed hieroglyphics. Subsequent discoveries soon followed. In 2023, a necropolis near Questna in the Nile Delta yielded dozens more golden tongues, some in adult graves, others in tombs belonging to children. In total, more than 100 golden tongues have now been documented, scattered across burial sites, ranging from Lower to Middle Egypt, mostly dating to the Greco-Roman period, roughly between 300 CE, and 300 CE. But the question remains, why? Mainstream Egyptologists offer a few possible interpretations. Some believe the golden tongues served a ritual purpose, ensuring that the deceased could speak in the afterlife. In ancient Egyptian cosmology, the soul's journey through the underworld or duat was treacherous. There were gates to pass, gods to appease, and a final judgment before Osiris himself. Speech was not just a means of communication, it was a tool of survival. Words held power. The right words could open doors, the wrong ones could seal a soul's fate forever. Could these golden tongues have been spiritual keys, allowing the dead to speak sacred words or recite spells from the Book of the Dead? Alternatively, some scholars suggest the practice may reflect a fusion of Egyptian and Hellenistic beliefs. During the Greco-Roman occupation of Egypt, local traditions often blended with Greek orrery customs. Gold in this context may have symbolized divine purity or served as a passport to immortality, echoing the myth of Phanani or the Orphic belief in silence, speech, and rebirth. But while these explanations offer plausible theories, they do not explain everything. Why were golden tongues placed in some tombs but not others, regardless of social class or wealth? Why are they more commonly found in certain regions and almost entirely absent in others? And perhaps most puzzling of all, why a tongue? The tongue in Egyptian symbolism is a powerful motif. It represents not only voice but truth. The act of speaking was sacred, connected to the heart, to judgment, and to memory. In orrery texts, the soul's ability to speak honestly before Osiris determined whether it would be granted eternal life. But some researchers have pointed to more esoteric connections. In certain mystical traditions, gold was not only a precious metal, but a conductor, a bridge between the material and spiritual world. In some interpretations, the golden tongue might have been more than symbolic. It may have been intended to channel divine communication, to serve as a physical medium through which the dead could speak to gods or to the living. Still, more fringe theories lean into the truly strange. Could the golden tongues be evidence of a now lost right? One that allowed the dead to speak through oracles or mediums? Were they part of a hidden priesthood's burial ritual reserved for initiates in a secret tradition? Some even wonder if these artifacts connect to broader global myths of enchanted speech, the power of the word as creation itself. From the word in Christian texts, to the M of Hindu belief, to the Egyptian god, the deity of language and magic. Is it coincidence that these golden tongues appear precisely during a period of deep cultural and religious fusion? Or were they created in response to something else entirely, something no longer remembered? To this day, the tombs continue to offer more questions than answers. In some recent excavations, golden tongues have been found in tombs that were clearly disturbed centuries ago, looted in antiquity, yet with the tongue left untouched. Was it overlooked, or was it intentionally left behind out of reverence? Or fear? In other cases, tongues have been discovered alongside bones showing signs of ritual damage. Missing jaws, fractured skulls. Was this symbolic punishment or the result of later desecration by those who feared what the dead might say? These are questions no one can yet answer. What is certain is that the golden tongues are real. Their placement is deliberate, and their meaning, whatever it was, mattered deeply to those who buried them. Tonight, as we wander deeper into the sands of mystery, the golden tongues remain sealed beneath layers of silence and time. They do not speak, but perhaps they were never meant to speak to us. What did the ancients believe their dead might need to say? And who, if anyone, was meant to listen? The golden tongues of ancient Egypt remind us that history does not forget the voice of the dead. But not all ancient mysteries are buried in tombs or sealed beneath stone. Some leave no monument, no inscription, only silence and absence. Now we turn from the secrets of the underworld to a different kind of shadow. Not one carved in gold, but one that swept invisibly through cities and fields, temples and palaces, claiming lives on a scale that defied comprehension. It was not war, it was not fire, it was plague. And its name, though whispered now through dusty pages of forgotten chronicles, is Justinian. The year was 541 CE. At the time, the Byzantine Empire stood as the eastern remnant of what had once been Rome's vast dominion. Its heart beat in Constantinople, a city of glittering mosaics, marble avenues, and golden domes. Emperor Justinian I ruled from its palaces with ambitious vision, dreaming of restoring Rome's former glory. But far from the capital, in the dry highlands of Ethiopia, or perhaps the river deltas of Egypt, something ancient stirred. An unseen force began to spread, first silently, then relentlessly following the trade routes that threaded through the empire like veins. By the time it reached Constantinople in the spring of 542, the death had become impossible to ignore. Eyewitnesses described streets filled with silence, broken only by the sound of weeping or the creaking wheels of carts piled high with bodies. Priests and physicians collapsed mid-prayer. Whole neighborhoods vanished in days. Emperor Justinian himself was stricken, and though he recovered, tens of thousands did not. This was the Justinian plague, considered by many historians to be the first true pandemic in recorded history. Modern estimates suggest that between 25 and 50 million people may have died, perhaps as much as half the population of Europe and the Mediterranean at the time. Some cities were reportedly reduced to a fraction of their former size. Farms were abandoned, armies deserted, trade collapsed, and for centuries afterward, the Roman world never fully recovered. But for all its devastation, the Justinian plague remains elusive. What exactly caused it? Where did it come from? And why did it vanish, only to reappear centuries later in a different form? For a long time, the plague was dismissed as legend, its impact exaggerated by ancient chroniclers prone to dramatizing disaster. But in recent decades, forensic science has revived the investigation. In 2013, DNA evidence recovered from 6th century burial sites in Germany confirmed the presence of Eurinia pestis, the bacterium responsible for bubonic plague. This discovery seemed to settle the debate. The Justinian plague was real, and it was the same organism that would later trigger the more infamous Black Death in the 14th century. And yet even this answer opens more questions than it closes. If Yersinia pest was the cause, why was the Justinian plague so much more destructive, killing so many in such a short time, only to vanish for centuries? Why were some areas spared entirely, even as nearby regions were devastated? And perhaps more strangely, why did the disease seem to behave differently? Unlike later plague outbreaks, the Justinian plague often struck during warmer months, sometimes even peaking in summer when modern bubonic plague tends to wane. In Constantinople, it reportedly killed up to 5,000 people per day, and in some accounts over 10,000. Victims sometimes died within hours. Others suffered from symptoms not typically associated with bubonic plague. Delirium, swelling in unexpected places, or blackened limbs that suggested something far more aggressive. Did Yersinia pestis mutate? Was there a co-infection with another unknown pathogen? Or could it have been something else entirely? Some historians have proposed that the Justinian plague may have involved multiple strains of disease, a viral component perhaps, or a bacterial mutation that has not survived into modern strains. Others point to climate anomalies that coincided with the outbreak, dramatic cooling in the northern hemisphere, possibly triggered by a volcanic eruption in 536 CE, just 5 years before the first recorded outbreak. This sudden cooling, which darkened skies across Europe and Asia, disrupted agriculture and altered ecosystems. Could the environmental shock have created the perfect storm for disease to evolve or emerge? In more speculative corners of research, stranger theories persist. Some fringe scholars suggest that the plague may have been linked to a more ancient cycle of collapse, that pandemics of similar magnitude occurred in prehistory only to be erased by time. Others propose the idea that ancient biological warfare or exposure to long-dormant microbes released from melting ice or disturbed tombs could have played a role. And then there's the unsettling question of recurrence. The initial wave of devastation in the 540s, the Justinian plague did not disappear immediately. It returned again and again over the next 200 years, often striking in roughly 10 to 15-year intervals. It haunted the Mediterranean world like a spectre, seemingly vanishing, then reappearing with new force. But by the 700s and 50s it was gone. Not reduced, not replaced, gone. No trace, no gradual decline, just silence. How could a disease so widespread, so virulent, simply vanish? Modern science offers few answers. DNA evidence from later centuries shows different genetic signatures, suggesting that the strain of pestis responsible for the Justinian plague may have gone extinct, but how and why remains unknown. Even the name of the plague holds mystery. It was not called the Justinian plague by those who lived through it. That title was assigned much later, linking the event to the emperor, whose reign was forever shadowed by its presence. But in its own time, the disease was known simply as the pestilence. Holios in Greek, pestis in Latin, a word that meant not just illness, but something cursed, something faded. Some believed it was punishment, divine wrath sent to humble an empire too proud. Others believed it marked the beginning of the end, not just of Rome, but of the world itself. And perhaps in a way, it did. The Justinian plague weakened the empire, fractured its society, and altered the trajectory of history. The dreams of a restored Roman world faded. The balance of power shifted. And as the centuries turned, a different Europe emerged from its ashes. But the plague left little behind. No towering monuments, no libraries, no tablets of wisdom, just shallow graves, scattered bones, and the echo of a silence too vast to comprehend. Tonight, as we drift through the corridors of history, we are left with more questions than answers. What truly caused the Justinian plague? Was it a natural mutation, a forgotten pathogen, or a phenomenon we have yet to understand? And if it happened once, could it happen again? The past may not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And somewhere in the quiet gaps between what we know and what we fear, the mystery endures. From the crumbling streets of plague-stricken Constantinople to the silent halls of today's museums, we trace the arc of invisible forces, diseases, fears, beliefs that shape the world and then vanish. But sometimes it is the objects that remain behind which whisper the loudest mysteries. Not the ruins of lost empires or cryptic texts on forgotten scrolls, but something smaller, stranger. A single statue quietly sitting in a display case, seemingly ordinary until you learn where it came from and what it was made of. High in the remote and rugged stretches of the Tibetan plateau, where the air thins and the sky stretches vast and unforgiving, a curious artifact was once discovered. It would travel across countries and decades before its true nature was understood. A statue about 10 in tall, a human form seated cross-legged in the lotus position. The figure wears layered robes, hands resting peacefully on its knees. Its face is calm, angular, symmetrical. But the most distinctive feature is what sits at the center of the chest, a carved swastika tilted on its axis, an ancient symbol of auspiciousness in Eastern religions, Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism. But this statue is not remembered for its shape. It is remembered for its origin. Because this statue was carved from a meteorite known today as the Iron Man statue, this mysterious figure has inspired a tangle of questions since it first entered Western awareness in the 20th century. The story of its discovery is unclear, murky with the haze of war and politics. According to most accounts, the statue was found in the 1930s during a German expedition to Tibet led by Ernst Schaefer, a zoologist whose journey, disturbingly, was backed by the Nazi Unerbe, a pseudo-scientific division of the SS. The mission was supposedly a blend of scientific research and ideological propaganda, searching for evidence to support Aryan mythology. At some point during this journey, the statue came into Schaefer's possession, though how or where he acquired it remains unknown. It was brought back to Germany, studied briefly, and then vanished into a private collection for nearly 70 years. It wasn't until 2007 that the statue resurfaced. In 2012, researchers at the University of Stuttgart conducted a thorough analysis. What they found was startling. The statue was not made of any earthly stone. It was composed of attack, a rare type of nickel-rich iron meteorite, and not just any meteorite. The isotopic fingerprint of the metal matched the Chinga meteorite, a fragmentary, airy fall discovered in the border region between Siberia and Mongolia, believed to have crashed to Earth around 15,000 years ago. So what does this mean? At the most basic level, the statue is a unique object, an ancient Buddhist figure carved from a celestial body, forged in the heart of a dying star long before humanity ever walked the Earth. No other known statue like it exists, but this single fact opens a flood of deeper, stranger questions. Who carved it? And why choose this material? The statue's stylistic features suggest it was made around the 8th to 10th century CE, possibly during the Bonolchur or early Tibetan Buddhist period. But the exact dating is difficult. The carving shows signs of both Buddhist and Prebdist iconography, leading some scholars to speculate that it may represent a hybrid spiritual tradition, perhaps even a local deity predating Buddhism, later reinterpreted through its lens. But what is most baffling is the material itself. Meteorite iron is extremely difficult to work with, even with modern tools. It's dense, brittle, and uneven in composition. For ancient artisans to craft a delicate, detailed statue from it would have required not only immense skill, but an understanding of the metal's significance. Could they have known that the iron came from the sky? And if so, did they believe it was a gift from the gods? Throughout history, meteorites have often been revered. To many ancient cultures, they were celestial omens, fragments of heaven fallen to earth. In Egypt, meteorite iron was used in sacred blades. In Inuit tradition, meteorites were seen as powerful spirit objects. Even the famed black stone of the Kaaba in Mecca has been speculated, though unconfirmed, to have meteoritic origins. In Tibet, where sky and mountain blur into one, and where religious cosmology is deeply woven into the natural world, could a falling star have been seen as a divine message? Did early monks or shamans believe that by carving a god from the heavens, they were uniting earth and sky in a single sacred form? Some theorists, though cautious, suggest the statue may have been used in rituals, perhaps as a protective icon or channel of cosmic energy. Others see it as a relic of status, reserved for a high lama or spiritual leader, its otherworldly material enhancing its perceived power. And then there are the more speculative interpretations. The presence of the swastika symbol, though ancient and widely used in Eastern cultures, has also drawn darker attention due to its later appropriation by Nazi ideology. Some fringe theorists have linked the statue to esoteric Nazi occultism, suggesting it may have been interpreted by SS researchers as evidence of a lost sky race or a spiritual technology from beyond the Earth. But there is no concrete evidence for these claims, no writings, no records, only the object. And yet the mystery persists. How did an ancient Tibetan culture gain access to a meteorite that landed thousands of miles away? Did the fragments of the Chinga fall travel through trade, pilgrimage, or were they collected by nomadic tribes? Or was the statue itself carved much closer to the fall site and only later brought into the Tibetan region? The Iron Man statue, as it's come to be called, continues to puzzle archaeologists and historians alike, not only for what it is, but for what it seems to suggest, that ancient people, long before modern science, may have recognized and revered material not of this earth, and shaped it into the likeness of something sacred, a divine being made from the stars. Today the statue sits quietly in Munich at the Bavarian State Archaeological Collection. It is not prominently displayed. Few know its story. Fewer still understand its significance, but perhaps that is part of its mystery. It was carved in silence. It survived war, ideology, and time. And yet it does not speak, only reflects, cool, metallic, watching perhaps with the same calm expression it has held for over 1,000 years. What message, if any, was carved into that iron skin? And how many more sacred artifacts lie hidden, still waiting to be found, crafted from fire, star metal, and the dreams of those who looked up and saw meaning in the sky? The mystery is not in the answers. The mystery is in the fact that it exists at all. The Iron Man statue carved from a fallen star reminds us that the ancient world often reached beyond the earth for meaning, looking to the skies for omens, inspiration, and perhaps even the divine. But what happens when the mysteries are not found in the heavens, but buried deep beneath the surface of the earth? We journey now to Peru, to one of the most enigmatic landscapes on the planet. A place where the desert itself seems to whisper secrets across time. Here, high on the arid plains of the Nazca Desert, winds scrape across endless miles of ochre sand. The sky stretches wide and unforgiving, the sun relentless. It is a barren land, empty at first glance. But from above, it reveals impossible patterns etched into the earth. Spirals, hummingbirds, geometric shapes spanning hundreds of feet. These are the Nazca lines, mysterious geoglyphs that have puzzled researchers for generations. And now in the very same desert, another mystery has emerged. Mummies, small, desiccated, and unlike anything seen before. It began quietly on the fringes of the scientific world, and far from the polished corridors of formal archaeology. In 2017, a group of researchers and independent investigators working in Peru revealed something astonishing. They presented what they claimed were non-human mummified remains unearthed near Naza. And unlike any mummies previously documented in South America, photos and videos soon circulated online. Small, pale figures with elongated skulls, large eye sockets, and 3 long fingers on each hand. Bodies wrapped in white cloth, preserved in a curled fetal position. Their appearance was unsettling, almost too strange to be real. And yet the remains were tangible. They were not photographs of shadows or claims based on second-hand accounts. They were physical artifacts. Soon a team of Mexican and Peruvian researchers began conducting tests, CT scans, X-rays, DNA sequencing, carbon dating. The preliminary results stunned even the skeptics. Some of the bodies appeared to be over 1,000 years old. Their structure was largely biological, composed of organic bone and tissue. Some had internal organs still intact. Carbon dating suggested that at least one of the specimens could be traced back to the 5th century CE, placing it squarely within the pre-Columbian era, centuries before the arrival of Europeans. But the questions came quickly. What were these beings? Were they a forgotten branch of humanity? A mutation, a hoax? And if they were authentic, why do they look so unlike any known species? Mainstream scientists and institutions responded with caution and, in many cases, skepticism. The Peruvian Ministry of Culture denounced the removal and testing of the bodies, stating that such artifacts should be studied through proper archaeological channels. Prominent researchers expressed concern that the mummies might be elaborate forgeries, ancient human remains that had been modified to appear otherworldly. Fingers, some claimed, could have been extended or rearranged. Skulls elongated through ritual cranial deformation, a known practice in ancient Andean cultures. Indeed, the Nazca civilization, which flourished between 100 BCE CE and 800 CE, was known for its artistic sophistication, ritual practices, and complex burial traditions. Some skulls found in Nazca cemeteries were intentionally shaped, flattened, and lengthened using bindings in childhood. Could this be the case here? Others weren't so sure. One of the more famous figures studied was nicknamed Maria, a mummified body with 3 long fingers, no visible ears, and a narrow face. According to imaging studies, Maria had an intact ribcage, vertebral column, and limb joints that seemed to be biologically consistent. Her hands and feet, although unusual, showed signs of biological integration, not mechanical assembly. Another specimen dubbed Josephina was even smaller, only about 2 ft long. Unlike Maria, Josephina was said to contain metallic implants within her chest cavity. CT scans suggested the presence of small spheres or plates, materials which to this day have not been publicly identified with certainty. Then came Widita, a mummified infant with the same 3-finger structure, large head, and preserved organs. Tests indicated she had not been tampered with post-mortem. As the evidence mounted, the mystery deepened. Those who support the authenticity of the Nazca mummies insist that no known hoax has ever demonstrated such biological coherence across multiple specimens. They point to the internal anatomy, the joints, the musculature, even the skin, which in some cases still retain traces of collagen, they ask. Could a hoaxer operating in secrecy really produce such complexity? And if the bodies were fabricated, why go to such extreme lengths only to quietly release them through fringe channels rather than a high-profile revelation? Others more cautious warned that anomalies do not automatically equal authenticity. They highlight the lack of full peer-reviewed studies, the absence of clear archaeological provenance, and the dangers of leaping to conclusions, especially those that reach beyond what is known. But the mummies remain. They exist regardless of interpretation, and that is what keeps the question alive. The Naza region is no stranger to mystery. The geoglyphs etched into the desert are visible only from the sky, leading many to speculate about their purpose. Were they ritual pathways, astronomical calendars, messages to the gods, or perhaps to something beyond? Could the mummies and the lines be connected? Is it possible that the ancient Nasa people encountered something, someone they could not explain? That they preserved it, mummified it, and passed down stories we no longer understand? Or could these beings have come from within? From a lineage of humans or humanoids now lost to history, genetic outliers who once lived among the highlands and deserts, remembered not as aliens, but as gods. Some point to petroglyphs and pottery found in the region, artwork showing large-eyed figures, strange three-fingered hands, and elongated heads. Are these stylized depictions of gods and ancestors, or records of real encounters? The scientific community remains divided, and official recognition of the mummies as genuine archaeological finds has not been granted. For now, most mainstream institutions regard the Nazca mummies as unverified, if not entirely dismissed. But the public interest continues to grow, not because people seek aliens, but because they seek answers. In a world where ancient cultures still keep secrets under sand and stone, the Nazca mummies remain one of the most enigmatic puzzles in recent history. They are physical, visible, testable, and yet their origin remains shrouded. Are they hoaxes or forgotten history? Artifacts of a hidden race or a message we have yet to decipher? Perhaps the truth lies buried not in the mummies themselves, but in the silence around them. The reluctance to look too closely or to ask the questions we fear might lead to answers we're not ready to understand. As the desert winds sweep endlessly across the Nazca plains, the lines remain, the mummies remain, and somewhere beneath centuries of dust and secrecy, something waits. What have we uncovered? And more importantly, what have we yet to find? The Nazca Desert leaves us with more questions than answers. Its silent lines, its strange figures, and perhaps its forgotten dead. A mystery wrapped in sand, time, and the fragile remains of those who once walked its arid paths. But now we leave the high deserts of Peru for the misty forests of northern Europe, where the air is cool, the rivers whisper through green valleys, and the rooftops of medieval towns press close together under the weight of memory. Here in the town of Hamelin, nestled in Lower Saxony, Germany, cobbled streets wind between timbered houses, tourists stroll beneath Gothic facades and iron signs. It's a place that feels like it stepped out of a fairy tale. And perhaps it did, because this quiet town holds a story that has endured for over 700 years, a story of music and disappearance. A story of children who vanished without a trace. On a modest building in the heart of Hamelin, just beyond the bustle of cafes and curiosity shops, a plaque is mounted into the stone. It reads, "In the year 1284, on the day of Saints John and Paul, on the 26th of June, 130 children born in Hamelin were led away by a piper, clothed in many colours, to Calvary near the Koppen, and lost. No mention of rats. No fairy tale embellishments, just a simple chilling account of children lost." It is one of the most haunting entries in medieval historical record, and no one knows what truly happened. The modern version of the tale, the one we grow up hearing, speaks of a magical rat catcher, a man with a pipe hired to rid the town of a rat infestation. When the townspeople refused to pay him, he returned. But this time he played a different tune, a melody that led the children of Hamelin away into the hills, into a cave, and they were never seen again. It's a familiar legend, but behind the story lies something deeper. The earliest records of the Hamelin event do not mention rats at all. In fact, the first known reference dating from around the year 1300 comes not from a chronicle or a book, but from a stained glass window that once adorned the church of Hamelin. Now lost, but described in writings before its destruction. It depicted a colourfully dressed man leading children away from the town. The image was so powerful that it endured even after the window shattered. Later accounts added details, a date, June 26th, a number 130 children, a location near the Koppen, possibly referring to a hill or mountain, and always a sense of sorrow as if something profound had been taken. But the question remains, what really happened in Hamelin in the year 1284? Some historians believe the tale may be rooted in mass migration. During the 13th century, large parts of Eastern Europe were sparsely populated, and lords in what is now Poland and Transylvania offered incentives to settlers: free land, tax relief, and autonomy. German-speaking communities, including many from Lower Saxony, were encouraged to move eastward. In some cases, entire villages relocated. Could the lost children of Hamelin have been part of such a movement? It's possible. The piper, in this interpretation, may have been a metaphor for a recruiter or agent cloaked in bright attire, perhaps even dressed in ecclesiastical or ceremonial clothing, who convinced the townspeople to let their children go. But if so, why would such an event be remembered with such grief? Could it have been voluntary, or was it forced? And why would the children disappear without mention of their destination? Other theories point to darker possibilities. The 13th century was a time of great upheaval. Plagues, famines, crusades. The Children's Crusade, a disastrous movement in which thousands of young people set out to reclaim the Holy Land, had taken place just decades earlier. Could something similar have happened in Hamelin? A group of idealistic or manipulated children led away on a pilgrimage they never returned from. Or perhaps the truth was even more tragic. One theory suggests that the children may have died in a natural disaster, a disease outbreak, or even a landslide in the nearby hills. The piper then becomes a symbolic figure, death perhaps leading the innocent away. In medieval art and folklore, death was often personified, sometimes as a skeleton, other times as a jester or musician. A piper, playing a sweet and fatal tune, could have easily entered the collective imagination as the embodiment of loss. More speculative voices suggest entirely different possibilities. Some point to linguistic traces. The term children might not refer to biological children, but to citizens or inhabitants of Hamelin. In this reading, the lost children were not kids, but people of all ages who vanished under unexplained circumstances. Then there are those who view the piper as something less metaphorical and more supernatural. Legends often grow from real events distorted through time. What if the piper was a stranger? Someone who arrived in town with charm, with mystery, with power? Was he a magician, a cult leader, or something we no longer have the language to describe? The tale has echoes in folklore around the world, stories of people disappearing en masse, of music luring the innocent away, of entire groups vanishing into forests or under mountains. Is it coincidence or a cultural memory of something that once happened long ago? Even today, the town of Hamelin remembers. There is a street, Bungalowstrasse, the street without drums, where the children were said to have last been seen. To this day, no music is played there during official parades. No buskers are allowed to perform. It is a small tradition, quiet, easily overlooked, but it speaks of something ancient, a wound that never quite healed. Every summer, actors in Hamelin reenact the story for visitors. The piper, in his multicolored costume, the children following the haunting final note. Yet beneath the performance lies a shadow that lingers because no one knows. No one knows if the story is true, if it was invented, exaggerated, or faithfully remembered. No one knows who the piper was, or if he ever existed. No one knows what happened to the children, if they died, migrated, or were taken. And no one can explain why the tale endured when so many others faded. Perhaps that's what makes it so powerful. In a time when we crave certainty, when we turn to history for answers, the lost children of Hamelin offer none, only a question, one that echoes across the centuries. What happened on that summer day in 1284? What melody did they hear? What path did they walk? And where did they go? The story ends not with a period, but with a pause, a silence, as if the piper's tune still plays somewhere out of reach, calling softly into the unknown. The whispers of vanished children fade slowly into the misty forests of medieval Germany. their melody lingering just out of reach. Now, our journey takes us far from ancient Europe's haunted valleys beneath the restless waves of the Iron Sea to a secret buried for more than 2 millennia. A secret that challenges our understanding of technology, time, and human ingenuity. In 1900, near the tiny Greek island of Antikythera, sponge divers exploring the seabed made a discovery that would puzzle scholars for over a century. Amidst the remains of a Roman-era shipwreck, they found a corroded, encrusted mass of bronze and wood fragments. It seemed unremarkable at first. A handful of jagged metal pieces heavily weathered by centuries underwater. But what these fragments concealed would change the way we think about the ancient world. Known simply as the Antikythera Mechanism, this artifact is often described as the world's first analog computer. Encased in a wooden frame, it houses a complex arrangement of interlocking bronze gears, at least 30 of them, some no larger than a coin, their teeth meticulously cut and arranged. Through careful study using X-rays, 3D imaging, and modern reconstruction, researchers discovered that the mechanism was designed to track the movements of celestial bodies, planets, the sun, the moon, and to predict astronomical events such as eclipses, phases of the moon, and even the timing of the Olympic Games. It is in essence an ancient computer built over 2,000 years ago, capable of forecasting cosmic cycles with remarkable precision. The level of engineering required to create such a device was thought to be centuries ahead of its time. Mechanical complexity of this nature, miniature gears working in concert to model the heavens, was not believed to exist until the Renaissance nearly 400 years later. So, how did this piece of advanced technology find its way into a shipwreck from around 60 BCE? And who built it? The prevailing theory suggests that the Antikythera mechanism was created in the Greek world, perhaps in Rhodes or Corinth, centers of Hellenistic science and astronomy. The craftsmanship aligns with the sophisticated knowledge of geometry, celestial mechanics, and mathematics possessed by Greek scholars such as Hipparchus or Archimedes. But much about the device remains uncertain. We do not have any ancient texts that describe it in detail. No manual, no blueprints, no reference in surviving literature. For centuries, it was lost to history. A singular artifact floating at the bottom of the sea. What has survived, however, is enough to suggest that the ancient Greeks had a mechanical understanding of the cosmos, an understanding far more intricate than their philosophical writings alone reveal. Yet this explanation only deepens the mystery. How widespread was this technology? Was the Antikythera mechanism unique, an isolated masterpiece lost to time? Or was it part of a broader tradition of mechanical invention now vanished beneath layers of history and forgotten knowledge? Archaeologists have discovered other ancient geared devices, but none come close to matching the complexity of Antikythera. For over a millennium after its creation, no similar mechanisms appear in the archaeological record. Some scholars propose that this knowledge was lost during the tumultuous periods following the Roman Empire's decline, perhaps destroyed, buried, or simply forgotten. As society's focus shifted, more speculative voices wonder if the device might hint at even stranger possibilities. Could it represent a surviving fragment of a civilization whose technological prowess far exceeded what conventional history recognizes? Or might it suggest contact with unknown sources of knowledge, whether through trade, travel, or even more exotic theories? While such ideas are not endorsed by mainstream science, they reflect a broader fascination with the Antikythera mechanism as a symbol of lost potential and enigmatic mastery. The mechanism itself consists of at least 2 distinct dials. The front dial tracks the calendar year, the positions of the sun and moon within the zodiac, and the lunar phases. The rear dial is even more intricate, mapped to the Saros cycle, an 18-year period used to predict eclipses, and the metonic cycle, which reconciles lunar and solar years. Each gear, each tooth, is a testament to a deep understanding of celestial rhythms. But the device's original purpose remains a puzzle. Was it a tool for astronomers, navigators, or priests? Was it used for teaching, for ritual, or for planning events? Its complexity suggests it was not a common instrument. It likely belonged to a wealthy patron or a scientific institution, an object of immense value. Some parts of the mechanism still elude interpretation. Tiny inscriptions etched in ancient Greek have been partially deciphered, but contain fragments of technical jargon, calendars, and names of months and stars. These hints suggest an intent to connect human timekeeping with cosmic cycles. What other secrets might lie hidden in these inscriptions buried in corrosion and time? The Antikythera Mechanism invites us to reconsider what we think we know about the past. It challenges the narrative of a slow, linear progression of technological development. Instead, it hints at a past where human innovation and curiosity were already exploring realms of complexity we struggle to comprehend even today. In the end, the Antikythera Mechanism remains a riddle carved in metal, an ancient whisper from a lost era. What knowledge did it embody? Who are the minds behind it? And what other wonders have been swallowed by the sea, waiting silently to be discovered? Perhaps some answers lie within the rusted gears, still locked beneath layers of sediment. Or perhaps the greatest mystery is not what we have found, but what remains hidden. As the waves continue to shift the sands of the iron, the Antikythera Mechanism waits, silent, enigmatic, a reminder that some mysteries endure beyond the reach of time. Would we one day uncover a greater story behind this ancient marvel? Or is it destined to remain a singular enigma, a mechanical oracle from a lost past, reminding us of the fragile thread that connects knowledge, memory, and the passage of civilizations? For now, the gears turn only in our imagination, and the mystery continues. The stone walls of Admarset, quietly in the Austrian Alps. Mist rolls down from the high ridges, clinging to the sharp peaks, softening the forests and settling like a veil over the valley below. Within these clusters, time itself feels suspended. Bells toll at measured intervals, their echoes stretching across centuries. Visitors to this place walk among corridors where footsteps have been absorbed into stone, where the weight of history presses close. And yet, for all its solidity, Admant holds a secret, one tied to a woman whose name still lingers in both legend and history: Anastasia of Kiev. Her story begins far away in the bustling court of Kiev-on-Rus, where the domes of churches glinted under the northern sun and the Dnieper River carried merchants, warriors, and priests between lands. Anastasia was born around the year 1023, a daughter of Yaroslav the Wise, Grand Prince of Kiev, and his Swedish-born consort, Ingegard. Yaroslav was a man who stitched together alliances with threads of marriage, binding his children to royal houses across Europe. To the west, one daughter became Queen of France, another wed the King of Norway, and Anastasia was sent to Hungary. Her marriage meant to secure both power and peace. In 1046, she became Queen Consort of Hungary beside Andrew I. She was more than a symbolic bride. Records suggest she was active in the political struggles of the day, fiercely protective of her son Salomon, who would later ascend to the Hungarian throne. Chroniclers described her as intelligent, strong-willed, and deeply involved in questions of succession. For decades, she stood at the heart of dynastic intrigue, moving through courts defined by shifting loyalties and fragile treaties. And yet, despite her presence in so many documents, Anastasia of Kiev slowly began to fade into silence. When Andrew died in 1060, the balance of power in Hungary fractured. Her son's right to rule was challenged by powerful cousins Gaza and Ladislaus. Civil war broke out. Lines on the battlefield were drawn not only in blood, but in questions of legitimacy. Anastasia, caught in the middle, faced exile, reconciliation, and the constant threat of violence. She stood as both a queen and a mother, defending Solomon's claim. But history did not favor them. Salomon was eventually forced to abdicate, his reign collapsing under the weight of rebellion. What became of Anastasia after this? The official record grows faint. Some chronicles suggest she withdrew to the relative safety of Admira. It is here that her name is last mentioned, tied to the rhythms of monastic life. And yet, we must ask, what exactly happened in those final decades? One version tells us that Anastasia became a patron of the abbey, spending her later years in prayer and seclusion, the widow of a king, the mother of a deposed monarch, retreating from the world's ambitions into the quiet of the cloister. This image, serene, pious, resolved, fits neatly into the patterns of medieval queenship. Many noble widows followed a similar path, but the sources are strangely inconsistent. The date of her death is uncertain, given variously as 1094, 1095, or 1096. No contemporary record describes her burial. Admit Abbey is thought to be her final resting place, but no tomb or inscription has been securely identified. Did she lie in a crypt that has since been lost to time? Were her remains quietly moved during later centuries of war and upheaval? There are even whispers, though faint, that she may not have remained at Admont at all. Some speculative accounts suggest Anastasia may have remarried, possibly to a German nobleman named Po. If true, this would complicate the serene picture of her as a cloistered widow. It would mean she re-entered the shifting arena of power, her story continuing in ways we can no longer fully trace. Was this rumor born of confusion with another noble woman of the same name, or does it hint at an erased chapter of her life? Even her role as a nun is uncertain. Did Anastasia truly take holy vows? Or did she simply find refuge in the abbey without ever renouncing her royal identity? Monasteries often sheltered widowed queens and princesses who lived as lay patrons, not as nuns. Some historians believe Anastasia retained her status, wielding influence even within the cloistered walls. If so, what kind of power did she exercise in those dimly lit halls? The unanswered questions only deepen when we consider her burial. Admit Abbey was expanded and rebuilt multiple times across the centuries, and with each change, graves and records were disturbed. Fires and wars destroyed archives. If Anastasia lies beneath these stones, the markers of her identity may be gone forever, or perhaps hidden behind a sealed wall or beneath the weight of forgotten manuscripts. Some trace still waits to be uncovered. Her fate raises a broader question about history itself. Why do certain lives, once so central, vanish from record? Anastasia was the daughter of a powerful prince, the wife of a king, the mother of a monarch. Yet her death, her tomb, even the outline of her last years remain shadows. Was this silence deliberate? Did political shifts in Hungary erase her memory, downplaying the role of a foreign bee-born queen? Or is it simply the result of time's erosion, the crumbling of parchment, the disappearance of chronicles? Consider the irony. In her youth, Anastasia was part of one of the most ambitious dynastic projects in medieval Europe. Yaroslav the Wise wove his daughters into the very fabric of continental politics. Their names appear across charters, treaties, genealogies, and yet, in the end, even queens can vanish. Their stories survive only in fragments, like whispers carried on the wind. Standing in Aden today, the Abbey's vast library, one of the largest monastic libraries in the world, offers a haunting contrast. Thousands of manuscripts line the gilded shelves, preserved with reverence. Somewhere among them perhaps lies a reference overlooked, a sentence that could illuminate Anastasia's final years. Or perhaps not. Perhaps her story will remain one of those mysteries that history never fully yields. And so we are left with questions that drift like the alpine fog. Did Anastasia die in quiet devotion? Her name unrecorded, but her presence felt within those abbey walls. Was she laid to rest in a tomb, now lost to centuries of rebuilding? Or did she leave Adm a new role, a new life beyond the reach of chroniclers? The silence around her fate does not diminish her importance. Instead, it heightens the sense of mystery. For in every gap in the record, imagination lingers. We do not know what became of Anastasia of Kiev, and perhaps we never will. But as long as the bells of Ad Emel, as long as the mists gather around its cloisters, her shadow will remain. An enduring reminder that history is never complete. What truths lie hidden in forgotten abbeys and unmarked graves? What lives once central to the shaping of kingdoms still wait for rediscovery? Anastasia of Kiev remains one of them. From the whispered shadows of a vanished princess in medieval Kiev, our journey now moves westward to the mist-shrouded towers of England's late 15th century royal courts. Here, amid stone walls and whispered intrigues, lies a mystery that has haunted historians and storytellers for centuries. The tragic and unresolved fate of King Edward V. The story begins in the heart of London, within the imposing confines of the Tower of London, a fortress steeped in history, its ancient stones bearing silent witness to power, betrayal, and loss. The tower is a place of paradox, a royal palace and a prison, a symbol of authority, and a site of inexplicable disappearances. Edward V, the eldest son of King Edward IV, was only 13 when he ascended to the English throne in April of 1483. His reign, however, would be astonishingly brief, barely 2 months before he vanished from the historical record, swallowed by shadows that still resist clear explanation. The young king's story is one of innocence caught in a brutal struggle for power, an era marked by civil war, shifting loyalties, and ruthless ambition. After the sudden death of Edward IV, Edward V was declared king, but he never truly ruled. His uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was appointed Lord Protector and swiftly moved to consolidate power. Edward and his younger brother Richard were lodged in the Tower, ostensibly in preparation for Edward's coronation, but the pageantry never came. Instead, the boys were seen less and less, their fate cloaked in uncertainty. Within months, Parliament declared Edward illegitimate, clearing the way for Richard to take the throne as Richard III. The two princes were last seen in public around mid-1483, and then they disappeared. Their absence sparked rumours, fear, and outrage. What had become of the young kings? Official records offer no clear answers. Theories and accounts vary, many coming from sources with strong political motivations, further complicating the truth. Some claim the boys were murdered on Richard's orders, a cold political calculation to eliminate rivals and secure his claim. Others suggest alternative culprits, rival factions seeking power, or even distant nobles with their own interests. The exact circumstances of their disappearance remain one of England's most enduring mysteries. The princes in the Tower, as they became known, became symbols of innocence, lost to treachery. But beyond that symbolism lies a real puzzle. Where were they taken? What precisely happened to them? And who was responsible? The tower itself offers no clues. Its walls guard their secrets well. For centuries, the supposed burial place of the boys was unknown. In 1674, 2 small skeletons were found buried beneath a staircase in the White Tower. These remains were presumed to be the princes, but forensic science at the time was rudimentary. Modern testing has never definitively confirmed their identity. Could those bones truly belong to Edward and his brother Richard, or were they misplaced victims of a later tragedy? The mystery only deepened in recent decades. In 2013, a scientific study attempted to analyze the bones, but conclusive evidence remained elusive. Without DNA samples from known relatives, definitive identification is nearly impossible. Beyond the physical evidence lies a thicket of historical ambiguity. Richard III's role remains fiercely debated. Was he a cold-blooded murderer, as portrayed by Shakespeare and many chroniclers, or a loyal uncle caught in political turmoil, unfairly maligned by his successors? Some fringe theories propose radical alternatives. Could the princes have escaped, living out their lives in secret? Stories persist of possible survivors living under assumed identities, though these claims lack credible evidence. Another intriguing speculation suggests the possibility of assassination. Orchestrated by others in the royal court, could powerful nobles fearful of Richard's growing influence have arranged the boy's disappearance to destabilize his reign? The broader context of the Wars of the Roses, a brutal conflict between the houses of York and Lancaster, adds layers to the enigma. Power shifted violently, alliances crumbled, and the line between friend and foe blurred. In such chaos, the fate of two children, however royal, could easily be sacrificed for survival. The psychological and symbolic weight of the mystery has resonated through centuries. The princes embody the fragility of youth caught in the deadly Game of Thrones, a reminder that history is often written by the victors, and many stories remain buried beneath political expediency. The tower itself remains a potent symbol, its walls silent but watchful, its dungeons and chambers echoing with secrets. For visitors today, the place offers a haunting reminder of power's price and of lives forever lost to history's shadows. As we consider the fate of Edward V, we are drawn to a fundamental question in the tangled web of politics and ambition. What becomes of innocence? And more urgently, will we ever truly know what happened to the young king and his brother? Their story lingers on, suspended between fact and legend, a haunting enigma etched into England's past. What truths might still be hidden beneath the tower's cold stones? What secrets, if uncovered, could reshape our understanding of this dark chapter in royal history? For now, the mystery endures, a silent testament to history's unresolved puzzles, beckoning us to look deeper, to question, and to remember that even the brightest crowns can cast the darkest shadows. From the stone walls of England's tower and the silent shadows of vanished princes, our journey now shifts to a quiet stretch of coastline, bathed in early 19th century dawn light. Here, amid the rhythmic crashing of waves and the whisper of the sea breeze, an extraordinary mystery was reported, one that has puzzled historians and enthusiasts for over 2 centuries. It was the year 1803 on the remote shores near the village of Port Curnow, Cornwall, England, when locals spoke in hushed tones of a strange vessel that had washed ashore unlike any boat they had ever seen. This was no ordinary fishing craft or merchant ship. It was described as an unfamiliar, otherworldly craft, alien in design and materials. Sparking curiosity and unease, the coastal community, accustomed to the mercantile bustle of ships and the occasional wreck, found themselves confronted with something entirely different. Witnesses recounted a small metallic boat gleaming in the morning sun, but bearing no sails, oars, or recognizable means of propulsion. Its hull was said to be smooth and seamless, fashioned from an unknown alloy that defied easy identification. The structure was compact, but intricately designed with patterns and symbols, unlike anything from contemporary shipbuilding traditions. What truly ignited fascination and speculation were the claims surrounding what was discovered inside. According to some accounts, the boat contained a mysterious occupant, a small humanoid figure described as having unusual features, large eyes, delicate hands, and skin that shimmered with an iridescent sheen. This figure was said to have been unconscious or deceased and was quickly taken by local authorities and scholars for examination. These early reports come to us primarily through fragmented letters, diaries, and second-hand retellings. The details often vary, and over time, embellishments and inconsistencies have blurred the line between fact and folklore. Yet the core narrative remains compelling, a tale of a strange vessel and its enigmatic occupant, found washed up on the shores of Cornwall in a time before the modern age of flight and space exploration. The mainstream historical perspective is cautious. Many scholars suggest the story could be a misidentification of a more conventional craft, perhaps a wrecked submarine or an experimental naval vessel, though none from that era matches the descriptions. Others propose that the figure might have been a mannequin or doll, perhaps, part of a theatrical display, or a shipwreck survivor misremembered through oral tradition. But what lends the story its enduring allure is precisely the gap between evidence and explanation. What was this vessel if not a product of known maritime engineering? And who or what was the small figure found inside? Could it be that the people of Porthcurno encountered something beyond their understanding, an object from a world not their own? The early 1800s was an age of exploration and invention. The Industrial Revolution was beginning to reshape society. Yet, the idea of interstellar travel was barely a whisper in the realm of science fiction, still decades away from serious scientific discourse. To imagine a craft of unknown origin arriving on an English shore at this time challenges our assumptions about history, technology, and the possibilities of human and perhaps non-human contact. Some have speculated that the so-called alien boat might have been evidence of early extraterrestrial visitation, a precursor to the modern UFO phenomena that would captivate the 20th century. If this were true, it would represent one of the earliest recorded encounters of its kind, predating famous sightings by centuries. Others have suggested more terrestrial theories. Could it have been a clandestine experiment by a secret society or an unknown inventor pushing the boundaries of technology, or a natural phenomenon misinterpreted through the lens of local superstition and wonder? The lack of physical artifacts complicates any definitive answer. No remnants of the boat or the figure survive in museums or archives. No scientific analysis was recorded, and contemporary newspapers of the time offer sparse, if any, coverage. The story survives almost entirely through oral tradition and occasional references in obscure historical writings. This absence of tangible evidence forces us to confront the limits of our historical record. How many extraordinary events have been lost, buried by time, or suppressed by disbelief? How do we differentiate between legend and fact when the line between them is so delicate? The story of the alien boat raises broader questions about human perception and memory. How do communities interpret the unknown? When faced with something unexplainable, do we create myths, legends, or stories that frame these mysteries in ways we can understand? And what might these stories reveal about our hopes, fears, and desire to connect with something beyond ourselves? In the quiet coves and craggy cliffs of Cornwall, where the sea meets sky in endless horizon, the tale of the mysterious boat remains a whisper on the wind. It is a reminder that beneath the surface of history lie untold stories, enigmas that challenge our understanding and invite us to look deeper. What secrets did the sea bring to that shore in 1803? And what might still lie hidden beneath the waves, waiting for discovery? As we drift away from the misty coast of Cornwall, the alien boat lingers in the imagination, a symbol of the unknown and a mystery that for now remains unsolved. From the enigmatic whispers carried on the coastal winds of Cornwall, where a strange vessel once washed ashore, we journey now to the rugged landscapes of South Africa, an ancient land marked by geological wonders and secrets that stretch back billions of years. Here, nestled near the town of Clarks, lie objects that challenge our understanding of time and origin. The curious, often enigmatic Clark spheres. These small metallic spheres, no larger than a golf ball, were discovered deep within pyrohyalite deposits, ancient sedimentary rocks dating back approximately 3 billion years, long before the rise of complex life on Earth. Unearthed by miners, these mysterious objects have drawn the attention of scientists, enthusiasts, and skeptics alike. At first glance, the spheres appear deceptively simple, smooth, polished, and metallic in appearance. Yet their characteristics and context raise profound questions. Many of the spheres are composed of a unique blend of minerals, including iron, nickel, and other metals. Some have grooves encircling their circumference, perfectly symmetrical and precisely etched, as if manufactured with intention. How did these spheres come to be embedded in rock so ancient, predating known technological civilizations by billions of years? Mainstream geology explains their presence through natural processes. Concretions formed by mineral deposits precipitating around a nucleus in sediment layers shaped over millennia by geological forces. Concretions are indeed a common and well-understood phenomenon. Yet the Clark's-Dorp spheres exhibit features that challenge easy categorization. Their uniform size, intricate grooves, and the presence of what appear to be sharp edges suggest a complexity beyond ordinary mineral formation. Some spheres display ridges running around their midsections, like finely crafted ridges or threads, which have led some researchers to speculate about their origins. Could these ridges resemble the threads of a screw, a shape seemingly incongruous with natural geological processes? If these spheres are purely natural, how do we account for such precise and repeated features? And if they are the products of an unknown technology, what civilization could have created them and when? The age of the rocks hosting their spheres complicates these questions further. At approximately 3 billion years old, the pyrite deposits were formed during the Archean Eon, a time when life on Earth was primitive and technology unimaginable. No known human or intelligent civilization existed then, nor does any mainstream theory suggest such advanced craftsmanship was possible. Could the spheres be remnants of a lost ancient civilization, far older than any recorded in history? This speculative idea intrigues some researchers and fuels a variety of alternative hypotheses, ranging from the presence of unknown advanced pre-human beings to theories involving extraterrestrial visitation. Such notions, while captivating, remain on the fringes of scientific consensus. Mainstream geologists maintain that the spheres are naturally occurring formations, products of unique geological conditions involving mineral accretion, pressure, and erosion. Yet the debate continues in laboratories. The spheres have been analyzed with sophisticated instruments, X-rays, electron microscopes, and compositional analyses, yielding data that deepen the mystery. Some studies highlight crystalline structures within the spheres that appear too regular for natural growth, suggesting a process not fully understood. Other analyses reveal metallic compositions and hardness inconsistent with typical concretions, pushing the boundaries of conventional explanation. Could there be unknown geological processes at play? Or might these spheres be artifacts waiting to be recognized? Adding to the intrigue, the spheres have been found in multiple locations around Clarkby and even in other parts of the world, though often differing in composition and appearance. This raises the question, are we looking at a widespread natural phenomenon with varied local expressions or a scattered trace of a lost craft? The spheres have also been attributed mystical and symbolic meanings by some, becoming objects of fascination in esoteric circles. Some have claimed that the spheres possess energy properties or represent ancient knowledge encoded in their form, though such claims lack empirical support. What is undeniable, however, is the power of the spheres to capture imagination and provoke questions about the deep past. They force us to look beyond accepted timelines to question how much of Earth's history remains hidden beneath layers of rock and time. If natural, the Clark-Dorp spheres reveal the astonishing creativity of geological forces capable of crafting shapes that mimic design with uncanny precision. If artificial, they hint at a lost chapter of history, one perhaps erased by the slow march of time and geological upheaval. They compel us to ask, what is the true nature of these spheres? How do they fit into the grand narrative of Earth's formation and human history? The ancient rocks surrounding Clark's whisper their secrets slowly, each layer a page in a book we are only beginning to read. What other mysteries lie embedded in their depths waiting for discovery? The Clark-Dorp spheres remain silent witnesses to a world beyond our current understanding, a bridge between natural wonder and the tantalizing possibility of something more. As we leave these enigmatic stones behind, the mystery invites us to consider the vastness of time and the limits of knowledge. Could the spheres be a message from a past too distant to fully grasp, or simply a marvel of nature's endless creativity? For now, they remain one of the Earth's most puzzling artifacts, waiting patiently for science, history, and perhaps intuition to uncover their true story. As we leave behind the enigmatic Clark spheres, ancient relics carved by nature, or perhaps something more mysterious, Our journey now takes us to the heart of an ancient epic, a story etched in the very fabric of South Asia's cultural and spiritual history. Far beyond the geological riddles of stone, we turn toward the Mahabharata, one of the longest and most profound epics ever composed by humankind. Within its sprawling verses lies a mystery that defies both time and logic. The tale of the Vimana, mystical flying machines described with vivid detail yet lost to the annals of history. To envision the Vimana, one must first immerse themselves in the ancient landscapes of India's mythic past. Picture the vast battlefields of Kurukshetra, the setting of the Mahabharata's Great War, where gods and warriors clashed in a spectacle of valor and devastation. In this world of myth and history intertwined, the Vimanas soar described not merely as chariots of the gods, but as aerial vehicles with capabilities that astound the modern imagination. The texts speak of these Vimanas as craft that could traverse skies, oceans, and even the stars, wielding powers that seem to verge on the supernatural. Ancient Sanskrit verses detail their shapes and movements, wheels turning, fiery exhausts blazing, and the ability to disappear and reappear at will. Were these simply poetic metaphors, or were they descriptions of something real? Advanced flying machines born of forgotten technology. The Mahabharata is a complex tapestry woven from centuries of oral tradition and layered with allegory, spirituality, and historical memories. It is difficult to separate fact from fiction, myth from history. Yet what captures attention is not only the vividness of the Vimana descriptions, but the consistency with which such aerial vehicles appear not only in the Mahabharata, but across other ancient Indian texts, including the Ramayana and various Vedic scriptures. The question emerges, if such vehicles truly existed in some form, what became of them? Where are the remnants of these machines, lost to time or hidden beneath the sands? Why did these seemingly advanced crafts vanish from history, leaving behind only tantalizing references? Mainstream historians and scholars generally interpret the Vimanas as mythological constructs, symbolic representations of divine power, or allegorical devices to convey spiritual truths. From this perspective, the Vimanas are poetic imagery, reflections of ancient cosmology and theology rather than historical fact. However, a growing number of alternative researchers and enthusiasts have argued that the Vimanas might have been real vehicles, evidence of a lost chapter of human or perhaps even extraterrestrial technology. They point to the detailed descriptions, the advanced nature of the machinery, and parallels drawn with modern aerospace engineering. Ancient Indian texts describe Vimanas made of metals unknown. Today, with mechanisms resembling modern propulsion systems and even nuclear capabilities. One verse speaks of a weapon so powerful that it could burn the entire Earth with a single blast, a statement that eerily mirrors the destructive power of modern weaponry. Such details raise profound questions. Were the ancient sages and poets witnesses to a technology long since lost, possibly destroyed or hidden deliberately? Or are these descriptions the imaginative renderings of a culture fascinated by the heavens, transforming their dreams into sacred stories? Archaeologists have yet to uncover any physical evidence of the Vimanas, which fuels the debate further. No machine parts, no fragments of metal, no landing pads. Nothing tangible has surfaced to support the existence of flying machines from that epic. Yet some speculate that the Vimanas were built using materials and knowledge that have since deteriorated or were deliberately erased in the centuries following the Mahabharata's composition. Could these crafts have been dismantled, their secrets buried to prevent misuse or forgotten in the upheaval of history? Others propose a more extraordinary theory that the Vimanas were not of human origin at all. Some suggest they were gifts or vehicles from extraterrestrial beings who once visited Earth, teaching or guiding humanity in times long past. This theory leans on the striking similarities between descriptions of Vimanas and UFO sightings recorded in the modern era. Ancient Indian texts even reference the Pushpaka Vimana, a mythical flying chariot said to have been capable of carrying many passengers and controlled by thought alone. Such claims evoke a level of technological sophistication far beyond what historians associate with the era, inviting us to wonder, could ancient civilizations have been far more advanced than we believe? Skepticism is warranted, and rightly so. The Mahabharata was composed over centuries, and oral traditions often blend reality and fantasy. Could the Vimanas be symbolic metaphors for spiritual ascension or celestial journeys rather than literal aircraft? Yet the persistent allure of the Vimanas endures because these stories challenge our assumptions about history, technology, and human potential. They force us to question how much of the past is lost to time and how many wonders have been buried beneath the layers of myth. Could it be that the disappearance of the Vimanis represents not merely the loss of a technology, but the erasure of knowledge so powerful it threatened the very course of human civilization? Might these stories be warnings wrapped in allegory, reminders of what once was and what could be again? The locations associated with the Vimanas, the ancient city of Hastinapur, the lands of Kurukshetra, and the many temples preserving these texts hold silent testimony to a civilization rich in wisdom, science, and mystery. Have their hidden chambers or forgotten libraries preserved secrets waiting to be rediscovered? Modern technology, from satellite imagery to underground scanning, has yet to reveal any evidence of Vimana-related artifacts or structures. Yet the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Could new discoveries or reinterpretations of existing evidence shed light on the truth behind these ancient flying machines? Are we merely scratching the surface of a profound mystery that intertwines myth, history, and technology? The story of the Mahabharata's Vimanas remains an unresolved enigma, a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern curiosity. It invites us to explore not only the past, but the limits of human imagination, knowledge, and belief. As we contemplate these vanished machines of legend, we are reminded that history is often written by those who survive, while secrets may be left in silence. What lies beneath the poetic verses beyond the allegories and spiritual teachings? Is there a tangible reality to the Vimanas? A lost technology, a forgotten civilization, or perhaps something even more extraordinary? The mystery of the Vimana persists, lingering in the twilight between myth and history. Perhaps one day the skies they once ruled will reveal their secrets, inviting us to glimpse a world that defies our understanding of time, space, and possibility. So we leave this ancient riddle open, a question whispered across millennia. What truly happened to the Vimanas of the Mahabharata? And what might their disappearance tell us about the fragile and fleeting nature of knowledge itself? If you find yourself wondering about these vanished chariots of the gods, their story is far from over. Like so many mysteries in our exploration, the truth awaits those patient enough to seek it. Would you like to continue to the next mystery, or perhaps explore any particular aspect of the Vimanas in more detail? As we leave behind the skies once ruled by the vanished Vimanas, our journey brings us now to the shifting sands and rolling waters of the ancient Iberian Peninsula, where one of Europe's most elusive and enigmatic civilizations once flourished. Nestled along the banks of the Guadalquivir River in what is now southern Spain, the lost civilization of Tartesses whispers through the mists of antiquity. A society cloaked in mystery, known primarily through fragments of legend, scarce archaeological finds, and the fleeting words of ancient writers. Imagine the sun setting over a vast, fertile estuary, its waters shimmering gold beneath a copper sky. This was Tartessos, a land rich with metals, copper, silver, and tin, where rivers carved out a network of waterways and trade routes, connecting this ancient people with the civilizations of the Mediterranean. According to classical sources, Tartessos was a kingdom of immense wealth, culture, and influence, a hub where Phoenician merchants mingled with local tribes, exchanging goods, ideas, and perhaps more. But unlike the great empires of Egypt, Greece, or Rome, Tartessos remains frustratingly elusive. No sprawling cities have yet been conclusively identified. No monumental temples or palaces stand as silent testaments. Instead, Tartessos emerges as a patchwork of myth and archaeology, a civilization half-remembered yet largely vanished. Ancient Greek historian Herodotus speaks of Tartessos as the wealthiest city of the Western world, describing a land of abundant riches and skilled craftsmen. The Phoenicians themselves, known for their seafaring prowess and extensive trade networks, are said to have established trading colonies along the Tartessian coast, drawn by its abundant metals and fertile lands. Archaeological evidence supports the presence of a sophisticated culture in this region during the first millennium BCE, with artifacts ranging from intricate jewelry and pottery to early writing systems, hinting at a complex society. Yet the location of Tartessos' capital remains a subject of heated debate. Some scholars suggest it lay buried beneath the marshlands near the modern city of Kis. Others argue it may have been swallowed by rising waters or hidden beneath layers of sediment deposited over millennia. The mystery deepens with Tartessos' sudden disappearance from historical records. By around the 6th century BCE, the civilization seems to vanish, leaving few clues to its fate. Was Tartessos destroyed by invading forces? Did environmental changes, a shift in the river's course, rising sea levels, or drought render the land uninhabitable? Or did the people of Tartessos assimilate into emerging cultures, their distinct identity dissolving into the broader tapestry of Iberian history? Some propose that Tartessos was no ordinary civilization, but rather a crossroads of cultures, a melting pot where ancient knowledge, metallurgy, and myth converged. Could it be that Tartessos' obscurity results not only from time, but from deliberate erasure? Perhaps Tartessos guarded secrets, technological, spiritual, or economic, that later societies sought to suppress or appropriate. Speculation has also linked Tartessos to the legendary Atlantis, with some theorists suggesting it was either a real part of the Atlantis myth or inspired the stories passed down through Plato and others. Could Tartessos have been a great maritime power whose memory became distorted into legend? The idea tantalizes even as evidence remains elusive. Adding to the intrigue are tales from ancient texts describing Tartessian kings who wielded extraordinary power, ruling over vast domains with advanced knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and navigation. Was Tartessos a beacon of innovation and culture? Or do these descriptions reflect the romanticizing tendencies of ancient chroniclers? Among the tantalizing finds in the region are inscriptions written in the Tartessian script, one of Europe's oldest known alphabets. Yet the script remains only partially deciphered, its meaning obscured by time, much like the civilization it represents. What messages lie hidden in these ancient characters? Could they reveal truths about Tartessos' social structure, beliefs, or even the reasons behind its disappearance? Environmental clues also offer pieces of this puzzle. The Guadalquivir River, once navigable far inland, allowed ships to sail close to Tartessos' settlements. But geological studies suggest significant changes in sea levels and sediment deposits over the last 3,000 years, potentially submerging or burying Tartessos' cities beneath layers of mud and marsh. If true, Tartessos could be waiting silently beneath the earth, a lost kingdom lost to time, but preserved in the embrace of the river. In recent decades, underwater archaeology has attempted to locate Tartessos' remnants, exploring submerged ruins and ancient shipwrecks. Each discovery brings hope, yet the core enigma remains intact. Why does Tartessos evade our grasp so persistently? Some fringe theories extend even further. A few speculate that Tartessos was a center of esoteric knowledge, perhaps linked to the mysterious Iberian mysteries, ancient religious rites shrouded in secrecy. Might Tartessos have been a cradle of spiritual wisdom guarding knowledge that transcended its material wealth? Or could it be connected to early expressions of what would later become Celtic, or even Mesoamerican mythologies, hinting at a global network of ancient cultures. None of these theories can be proven, but the gaps in history compel us to ask deeper questions. What was the true nature of Tartessos's wealth and power? Were the people of Tartessos innovators in trade, metallurgy, and culture? Or were they something more? A society that held secrets lost to the ages? And why, despite its apparent prominence in antiquity, did Tartessos leave so few traces? Is it the nature of history to forget? Or has Tartessos been waiting, concealed beneath layers of earth and myth, for a patient observer to uncover its truth? The lost civilization of Tartessos beckons us with its silent call, a reminder of the fragile line between memory and oblivion. It stands as an invitation to look beyond the surface, to read the land, the riverbeds, and the faint inscriptions left behind. Could Tartessos be uncovered one day, revealing a chapter of human history far richer and more complex than we imagine? Or will it remain an eternal mystery, a shadow cast by the passing of time, lingering on the edges of legend and history? As with so many enigmas we've explored, the story of Tartessos is not one with easy answers. It is a narrative that invites reflection on the impermanence of civilizations and the enduring allure of the unknown. So as night falls over this ancient river delta, we leave the ruins of Tartessos half buried beneath earth and water, a silent testament to a world long vanished yet not forgotten. And with that, we move forward deeper into the mysteries that shape our past and fuel our endless curiosity. Would you like to continue exploring another mystery, or perhaps delve deeper into the archaeology and legends of Tartessos itself? From the fertile river deltas of the ancient Iberian Peninsula, our journey now takes us across the vast Atlantic to the dense jungles of Mesoamerica. Here, among towering ceiba trees and winding rivers, an enigmatic civilization flourished long before the rise of the Maya and the Aztecs. Their legacy endures in stone. Massive, enigmatic sculptures that continue to baffle historians and archaeologists alike. These are the colossal mech heads, silent sentinels of a forgotten world, carved from volcanic basalt and weighing several tons each. Imagine standing in the humid shade of the Gulf Coast lowlands of modern-day Mexico, where the remnants of the Olmec civilization once thrived between roughly 1500 and 400 BCE, scattered across sites like San Lorenzo, La Venta, and Tricipotes. These enormous stone heads rise from the earth like ancient gods, each face bearing distinct, detailed features, enigmatic expressions frozen in time. The sheer scale of these sculptures is staggering. Some reach nearly 3 meters in height and weigh over 20 tons. How did a people from a seemingly pre-industrial society carve, transport, and erect such monumental works without the aid of metal tools or beasts of burden? This question alone invites a quiet reverence and a profound sense of wonder. The Olmec are often called the mother culture of Mesoamerica, credited with pioneering many artistic, religious, and cultural traditions later adopted by civilizations like the Maya and Aztec. Yet their own history remains shrouded in mystery. Written records are virtually non-existent. Instead, the Mech legacy whispers through their art, artifacts, and most famously, these colossal heads. What do these faces represent? Some scholars believe the heads are portraits of individual rulers or warriors immortalized in stone as a testament to their power and prestige. The helmets they wear suggest a connection to ball games, a sacred ritual sport that carried both spiritual and political weight in society. But this straightforward explanation only scratches the surface. Close examination reveals that no two heads are alike. Each sports unique facial features, expressions, and adornments. Some faces bear broad noses and thick lips, others more subtle and serene. Could they represent different ethnic groups within the Mech realm, or even foreign dignitaries and visitors? Were these head symbols of divine rulers, ancestral spirits, or mythical beings? And how were they transported across such challenging terrain? The basalt used to carve many of the heads was quarried from the Tux Mountains miles, away from the coastal sites where the sculptures stand without wheels or draft animals. How did the move these monoliths across rivers and dense jungle? Some theories suggest the use of rafts along waterways combined with intricate manpower and ingenuity. Others hint at lost technologies or methods lost to time. Archaeological findings show that the Olmec were skilled artisans and engineers. They crafted intricate jade figurines, sophisticated ceramics, and early forms of writing and calendar systems. Yet the colossal heads seem to stand apart both in scale and mystery. Are they merely the work of ambitious rulers seeking eternal fame? Or do they hold a deeper symbolic meaning, perhaps linked to Mech cosmology and religious beliefs? Some researchers propose that the heads represent were jaguars, creatures central to Mech mythology, beings that combined human and jaguar traits, embodying spiritual power and the connection between the earthly and the supernatural. But the helmets and human facial features challenge this interpretation, leaving room for debate. Adding to the enigma, several of the heads appear weathered and damaged. Yet there is no record of battles or invasions that might explain this deterioration. Could natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, or climate shifts have played a role in their fate? Or might these be the result of human intervention, perhaps during conflicts lost to history? Beyond their physical characteristics, the Memech heads prompt deeper questions about the society that created them. What kind of political structure enabled such grand projects? How was labor organized? And what motivated these colossal acts of craftsmanship? Then there is the broader question of the Memech civilization's origins and connections. Some fringe theories speculate that the heads depict individuals with African features, fueling debates on pre-Columbian transoceanic contact. While mainstream archaeology points to indigenous origins, the distinctiveness of the facial features continues to spark lively discussion. Could themes have had contact with distant cultures? Did they inherit knowledge from older lost civilizations or develop their art independently in the cradle of Mesoamerica? The mystery deepens when we consider the context of the Olmec heads within the broader landscape. Unlike many ancient sculptures displayed prominently in plazas or temples, several heads were found buried beneath layers of earth, suggesting intentional burial or concealment. Why would a civilization hide or enter their own monumental art? Was this a ritual act, a political statement, or a response to changing times? Despite decades of excavation and study, many aspects of the Memech heads remain unresolved. Modern technology, from 3D scanning to remote sensing, continues to unveil new details. Yet the essential questions linger. What stories do these stone faces tell? Whose hands shape their features? And what messages did the Olmec intend to send across centuries through these silent monuments? As the rainforest slowly reclaims the ancient sites, the meme heads stand as guardians of a vanished world, testaments to human creativity, mystery, and the enduring power of art to transcend time. Their gaze, inscrutable and steadfast, invites us to look deeper beyond the stone and soil into the heart of a civilization that has long since disappeared. The colossal Olmec heads remind us that history is not merely a collection of dates and events, but a mosaic of mysteries, each waiting patiently to be explored and understood. What remains buried beneath the jungle floor? What stories lie untold in the spaces between these monumental sculptures? And perhaps most profoundly, what does the story of the Mech heads reveal about the universal human desire to be remembered, to leave a mark on the world? As night falls over the dense foliage and the ancient stones rest under a canopy of stars, we leave the Memech heads silent, enigmatic, and eternal, standing watch over the mysteries of our past and the questions still waiting to be answered. Would you like to explore further into the cultural practices of the Olmec or continue our voyage through the world's most baffling enigmas? As we depart from the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, and the monumental gaze of the Olme heads, our journey now leads us northward across continents and millennia to the rolling green hills of Scotland. Here, near the quiet village of Faithley just west of Glasgow, lies a relic of prehistoric mystery, the Cocknose Stone, an immense expanse of ancient rock etched with hundreds of mysterious symbols and carvings that have defied explanation for over a century. Spread across nearly 43 mm, the Cocknose Stone is one of the finest examples of a prehistoric petroglyph site in the United Kingdom. The surface of this massive weathered boulder is densely covered with swirling spirals. Concentric circles, cup marks, and other geometric patterns carved deep into the rock by hands long vanished. At first glance, these markings may seem random or ornamental, yet the intricate designs invite closer scrutiny, stirring a profound curiosity about the people who painstakingly etched them thousands of years ago. Some estimates place their creation between 3,000 and 5,000 years ago in the Bronze Age. Imagine standing beside the Cocknose Stone, running your hand over the cool, rough surface, tracing the grooves worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. What stories do these carvings tell? What purpose did they serve? Were they a form of ancient art, ritual, or communication? Or might they be something more enigmatic, an archaic map, a celestial calendar, or a coded language lost to time? Scholars have debated these questions since the stone's rediscovery in 1887, yet no consensus has been reached. The site was carefully surveyed and documented by the archaeologist James Harvey, whose meticulous drawings revealed the full complexity of the designs. But the meaning remains elusive. The Cocknose Stone is part of a broader tradition of prehistoric rock art found throughout Scotland and beyond. But what makes this site particularly captivating is the density and variety of its motifs. Spirals interlock with cup marks. Concentric rings overlap with elongated shapes. The carvings seem deliberately layered, suggesting a rich symbolic language. Some researchers proposed that the stone served as a ritualistic or ceremonial site, a place where ancient peoples sought connection with the natural world or the divine. Others suggest astronomical significance. Could the swirling patterns represent star charts, lunar cycles, or the paths of celestial bodies? Yet, the mystery deepens further. In 1965, to protect the stone from vandalism and damage, local authorities covered it with soil, effectively hiding the carvings from sight for decades. This act preserved the stone, but also concealed its secrets from generations of scholars and visitors. Only recently, with modern technology such as laser scanning and 3D modeling, have researchers been able to study the Cocknose Stone in new detail without disturbing its fragile surface. These methods reveal the carvings in unprecedented clarity, uncovering subtle patterns and details invisible to the naked eye. Despite this technological leap, interpretations remain speculative. Could the Cocknose Stone be a kind of prehistoric map, a record of territorial boundaries or sacred landscapes? Or might it be an ancient, mnemonic device designed to guide ceremonies or oral histories? Some fringe theories suggest even more extraordinary ideas: ancient extraterrestrial contact or lost civilizations with advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics. While such hypotheses capture the imagination, mainstream scholarship continues to emphasize the cultural and spiritual significance of the stone within the context of Bronze Age society. One cannot help but wonder about the people who carved these symbols. Who were they? What did their lives look like? How did they perceive the world? And what compelled them to mark this stone with such care and precision? Each spiral, circle, and cup mark invites us into their world, but also stands as a reminder of the vast gulf of time separating us. The Cocknose Stone is a silent witness to humanity's ancient past, one that speaks in symbols, not words. Moreover, the stone raises questions about preservation and legacy. How many other such sites have been lost to time, buried beneath modern development or the ravages of nature? What might remain hidden beneath fields, forests, or urban sprawl waiting to be rediscovered? In a world that constantly seeks progress and new knowledge, the Kono stone offers a humbling glimpse of continuity, an enduring connection between our present and the prehistoric minds who once saw the same stars, felt the same earth beneath their feet, and left behind traces of their existence in stone. As twilight settles over the Scottish hills and the winds whisper through the grass, the Koshno stone remains, buried yet unforgotten. A mystery carved in stone that continues to captivate, perplex, and inspire. What secrets remain etched beneath the soil? What knowledge might have been encoded in these swirling patterns? And what can these ancient carvings teach us about the human desire to understand and interpret the world? In the quiet of the evening, as we leave the shadow of the K&O stone behind, these questions linger, inviting us to look deeper, not just at the stone itself, but at the vast unfolding enigma of human history, where so many mysteries still await their revelation. Would you like to continue exploring the hidden legacies carved into the earth? Or shall we turn to another enigma that defies explanation? As we move from the windswept hills of Scotland and the enigmatic grooves of the Kuchno stone, our journey now takes us back in time and space to the banks of the Nile, to one of the most remarkable and mystifying relics of ancient Egypt, the Dendera light. Deep within the temple of Hathor at Dendera, hidden in the shadows of millennia-old walls, lies an image that has sparked curiosity, debate, and wonder for generations. The Dendera light is a series of bas reliefs carved into the stone ceilings of this temple complex, which dates back roughly 2,000 years to the TMIC period of Egyptian history. The intricate scenes depict what appears to be enormous, elongated bulbs, glowing objects held within snake, like figures accompanied by lotus flowers, jed pillars, and other symbolic elements of Egyptian mythology. At first glance, these images seem out of place among the usual depictions of gods, pharaohs, and ceremonial rituals. Instead, they suggest something far more enigmatic, almost eerily modern, a form of ancient lighting technology, or perhaps something else entirely. Scholars generally agree that these carvings are symbolic, representative of Egyptian myths and cosmology. The light bulbs are often interpreted as lotus flowers producing snakes, a motif tied to themes of creation and rebirth. The snake itself is a powerful symbol embodying life, death, and regeneration in Egyptian thought, yet the detailed imagery, especially the bulb-like forms connected to what looks like filaments and cables, has given rise to alternative interpretations, sparking questions that stretch beyond conventional Egyptology. Could these carvings be ancient Egyptians depicting a form of electrical technology? Some sort of primitive light source powered by unknown means? This theory gained traction in the 19th and 20th centuries when explorers and enthusiasts speculated about lost knowledge or forgotten technology far advanced for its time. The idea of the Dendera light as an ancient light bulb captured imaginations worldwide, inspiring documentaries, books, and countless debates. But is it plausible? What evidence supports or refutes this notion? From a mainstream archaeological perspective, the light bulb interpretation is considered a misreading of symbolic art. Experts point out that the Egyptians had no known electrical technology, and the imagery align with their rich mythological language rather than technological schematics. The lotus flower, which blooms in the Nile and closes at night, symbolized the cycle of day and night, an ancient metaphor for life's rhythms. The snake curling inside the bulb is a serpent deity, perhaps the god Haramus, or the Urias cobra, representing protection and divine power. But how do we reconcile these symbolic explanations with the striking resemblance of the carvings to modern electrical components? Are we projecting contemporary ideas onto ancient art? Or is there more to the story? The mystery deepens when considering the temple's function and context. The Temple of Hathor was a center for worship, ritual, and knowledge, dedicated to a goddess associated with music, fertility, and the afterlife. The ceilings where the carvings reside were hidden from casual view, part of the temple's inner sanctum. Were these images meant only for initiates, conveying esoteric knowledge through symbols layered with meaning? Could the light represent spiritual illumination or divine energy captured metaphorically in physical form? Intriguingly, similar symbols appear in other Egyptian sites, suggesting a wider tradition of symbolic light or energy motifs. Yet none resemble known technology in a practical sense. On the more speculative side, some propose that the Egyptians had access to lost technologies, perhaps derived from contact with advanced civilizations or other worldly sources. This notion touches on themes of ancient astronauts and secret knowledge, ideas that remain controversial and without conclusive proof, but undeniably compelling to many, whatever the truth. The Dendera light challenges us to look beyond surface appearances. It reminds us that ancient cultures used symbolism to express complex ideas that may be lost or obscured by time and the limits of our modern understanding. Could it be that the light carved in stone is a metaphor for enlightenment itself? A reminder of humanity's eternal quest to harness and understand energy, light, and life. Or perhaps it is a riddle left for future generations, an invitation to explore, question, and imagine. The carving's survival through centuries of history, natural decay, and human turmoil adds to its mystique. It silently watches over a landscape where pyramids and temples echo stories of gods and men, of mysteries yet to be unraveled. The Dendera light remains a symbol of the thin line between myth and reality, between ancient knowledge and modern curiosity. As we stand before these ancient walls tracing the outlines of the mysterious bulbs, we are reminded that history is not just a collection of facts, but a tapestry woven with shadows and light. What did the ancient Egyptians intend us to see? And what have we brought to their art from our own imagination? These questions linger in the cool air of the temple, inviting reflection and wonder. And as our journey continues, we carry with us the silent glow of the Dendera light, a beacon from the past, urging us to look deeper into the shadows of history and the mysteries they hold. Would you like to move forward to explore another enigmatic relic, or pause a moment longer beneath this ancient illumination from the silent, enigmatic glow of the Dendera light? Our journey now carries us eastward deep into the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, where another extraordinary artifact waits quietly beneath the dust of millennia. Unearthed in the early 20th century near Baghdad, Iraq, the object known simply as the Baghdad Battery challenges our understanding of ancient technology and invites us once more to question the limits of early human innovation. Discovered in 1936 during archaeological excavations near the village of Kujut Rao, just outside the modern city of Baghdad. The Baghdad Battery is a simple yet perplexing artifact. It consists of a ceramic jar approximately 14 centimeters tall containing a copper cylinder encasing an iron rod. When the jar is filled with an acidic or alkaline liquid such as vinegar or lemon juice, it produces a small electric charge. On the surface, this might appear straightforward, a simple electrochemical cell, much like the earliest batteries invented in the 19th century, but this artifact dates back to roughly 250 BCE to 250 CE, far earlier than the recognized discovery of electricity. What then was the purpose of such a device in an era when the principles of electricity were unknown? The prevailing academic consensus views the Baghdad Battery as a curious container, possibly a storage vessel or part of a ritual object. No clear evidence supports it being used as a power source. After all, there are no surviving wires, lamps, or tools designed to harness electricity in that period. At least nothing yet uncovered. Yet the physical properties of the battery remain undeniable. Experiments have demonstrated that when filled with an acidic solution, the device can generate about 1 volt of electricity, enough to power a small electrical charge. What could the ancients have done with such energy? And why would they have constructed such a device at all? One widely accepted theory suggests the Baghdad Battery might have been used for electroplating, applying a thin layer of metal onto a surface by passing an electric current through a liquid solution. Tiny objects, jewelry perhaps, could have been coated with precious metals to enhance their appearance or durability. This explanation aligns with evidence of metal work and craftsmanship in the region, and with the sophisticated knowledge of artisans in the Parthian or Sassanid empires that dominated Mesopotamia during the artifact's estimated time frame, yet without accompanying electroplated objects or direct documentation. This theory remains speculative. Another possibility posits that the battery was part of a medical device used to apply mild electric currents for therapeutic purposes. The notion that ancient civilizations might have understood, at least intuitively, the medicinal potential of electric stimulation is tantalizing, but remains difficult to prove. Could ancient healers have harnessed electrical impulses to treat ailments predating modern electrotherapy by centuries? The artifact's mysterious nature deepens when considering the lack of contemporary texts or depictions explaining its use. If the Baghdad Battery had been an important technological tool, why does it vanish almost entirely from historical record? Was its use secret, sacred, or perhaps misunderstood by later generations? And beyond practical application, could it have served symbolic or ritual functions, an ancient embodiment of energy and power, invisible yet potent? More speculative and controversial theories extend beyond mainstream archaeology. Some propose that the Baghdad Battery hints at a lost understanding of electricity in the ancient world, suggesting civilizations far more advanced than currently acknowledged. Could this simple object be evidence of forgotten knowledge passed down through clandestine channels, lost to time and turmoil? Others have even entertained the idea that the battery was designed to power some sort of primitive lighting device, an idea resonant with the earlier enigma of the Dendera light, suggesting a hidden tradition of electrical experimentation in the ancient Near East. Skeptics argue that these ideas stretch the evidence too far, cautioning that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof that has yet to emerge. Yet the allure of the Baghdad Battery persists precisely because it sits at the boundary between the known and unknown, the factual and the speculative. It is an artifact that refuses to be neatly categorized. Intriguingly, other similar artifacts have been found in the region, hinting that the Baghdad Battery was not an isolated curiosity, but perhaps part of a broader technological or ritual tradition. Whether these devices were truly electrical or merely symbolic remains uncertain. As we ponder the Baghdad Battery, we are reminded of the fragility of human knowledge and the countless mysteries buried beneath the sands of history. How much have we lost? How many secrets have slipped through the cracks of time, leaving only faint traces in artifacts like this jar? The Baghdad Battery, with its silent charge, beckons us to imagine the possibilities. Ancient engineers experimenting with forces unseen, artisans crafting objects of power, or mystics channeling invisible energies in sacred rites. Could there have been an ancient understanding of electricity that preceded modern science by centuries? Or was this simply an accidental byproduct of craftsmanship misinterpreted by modern eyes? We are left with more questions than answers. What was the true purpose of this enigmatic device? And what might it reveal about the knowledge and capabilities of the people who created it? In this question lies the essence of the Baghdad Battery's mystery, a quiet riddle that continues to electrify the curiosity of historians, scientists, and dreamers alike. As we carry the faint glow of the Dendera light in our minds, and now the spark of the Baghdad Battery, we find ourselves illuminated not just by ancient artifacts, but by the endless pursuit of understanding. What other forgotten technologies? What lost wisdom lie waiting beneath the earth or etched in stone awaiting discovery? Only time and patient investigation will tell. Would you like to continue this journey deeper into the shadows of history? Or pause for a moment to let the mysteries settle and the questions echo softly in the silence? From the faint electric whispers of the Baghdad Battery, a relic hinting at forgotten technology, our exploration now leads us further eastward, deep into the remote mountains of the Bayan Ha Range, nestled along the border of China and Tibet. Here, amidst the high-altitude plateaus and windswept cliffs, lies another enigmatic chapter of ancient mystery, the story of the Dropa stones. The Dropa stones are said to be a collection of circular stone discs roughly 30 centimeters in diameter, each inscribed with intricate spiraling grooves and mysterious markings. According to accounts that surfaced in the mid-10th century, these artifacts were reportedly discovered in 1938 by a team of Chinese archaeologists led by Dr. Chu Ti while exploring ancient burial caves high in the Bayan Ha Mountains. Within these caves, the team is said to have found a series of tombs containing skeletal remains unlike any known human form, accompanied by the strange stone discs. The grooves on the discs were not random etchings, but appeared to form a coded language, a written record of a civilization that defied conventional history. Described as thin black stone plates with carved lines that spiraled towards the center, the dropstones sparked immediate curiosity. What kind of language did they represent? Could they be the records of a people long lost to time, or something altogether more extraordinary? While the precise nature and authenticity of these stones have been a matter of debate, their story has rippled across decades, inspiring intrigue and speculation worldwide. The mainstream archaeological community remains skeptical, primarily because the original findings have never been conclusively documented in peer-reviewed publications, nor have the stones themselves been reliably exhibited in museums. Yet over the years, various researchers and enthusiasts have claimed to study photographs and fragments, suggesting the inscriptions could be deciphered, revealing a narrative of extraterrestrial origin. According to the interpretations proposed by some scholars and writers, the inscriptions on the Dropa stones recount a story of beings from another world, space travelers whose craft malfunctioned and crashed upon Earth thousands of years ago. The Dropa people, it is said, survived and intermingled with the local populations, leaving behind their stories encoded in stone. This narrative paints a picture of ancient alien visitation long before recorded history, suggesting that Earth's past might be far more complex than previously imagined. Skeptics caution that such interpretations are often fueled by wishful thinking or misreading of natural rock formations and markings. They emphasize the lack of verifiable evidence and reliable archaeological context, urging a cautious approach to extraordinary claims. Nevertheless, the mystery of the Dropa stones persists, fueled by tantalizing photographs, second-hand reports, and occasional claims of private collections. The caves themselves, hidden in the harsh terrain of the Bayan Ha Mountains, add another layer to the puzzle. These remote locations have long been the subject of folklore among local Tibetan communities. Tales of strange lights in the sky, unusual artifacts, and lost peoples whose origins are shrouded in myth. Could the Dropa stones be part of a genuine but still undiscovered chapter of human history? Or are they part of a modern myth born from a mixture of mistranslation, imagination, and mystery? More fascinating are the skeletal remains reported alongside the stones, said to exhibit unusual physical traits, with skulls larger than typical human proportions and bones more delicate yet strangely structured. If verified, these remains could challenge our understanding of ancient human diversity, or even hint at interactions with otherworldly visitors. Scientifics. Inquiry demands physical evidence and rigorous analysis, and here the Dropa stones fall short. Without access to the original artifacts or detailed excavation records, researchers are left piecing together fragments of stories, photographs, and oral histories. Could these stones be relics of a forgotten indigenous culture whose knowledge was lost through centuries of upheaval and neglect? Or are they artifacts of a different order? Perhaps the footprints of an ancient encounter beyond our earthly origins. Beyond the academic debate, the allure of the Dropa stones lies in their silence. This quiet enigma, carved in stone, waiting patiently for voices to decode their secret. They remind us that the history beneath our feet and the mountains around us may hold unexpected stories. Stories that blur the lines between history, myth, and the unknown. As we contemplate the drop of stones, we confront profound questions. How much of our past remains hidden, obscured by time, language, and lost cultures? What mysteries lie buried in the world's most remote corners, untouched by the light of modern science? Could the answers to these questions reshape our understanding of humanity's place in the cosmos? The dropper stones remain a silent challenge, an invitation to explore, to question, and to imagine. Whether relics of a lost civilization, symbols of ancient extraterrestrial visitors, or simply artifacts misunderstood by time, they stir a deep curiosity. What if the mountains still hold secrets etched in stone and waiting for the day when someone somewhere will unlock their meaning? And what does that say about the boundaries of human knowledge and the mysteries that patiently wait just beyond our grasp? As the sun sets over the rugged peaks of Bayanhar, the drop stones rest quietly in the shadows of history. Their grooves and spirals whisper to those willing to listen, offering glimpses of a past that refuses to be forgotten. What stories do they truly hold, and how many more such enigmas remain hidden, scattered across the earth? The mystery remains, open-ended and compelling, inviting us to keep searching, keep wondering. Would you like to continue this exploration into the next mystery? Or pause here to reflect on the silent stones and the echoes they carry through time? From the enigmatic grooves spiraling across the ancient dropper stones, we now turn our gaze to the wind-swept coastlines of Peru, where another monumental mystery unfolds, etched not in stone discs, but carved into the rugged cliffside of the Paracus Peninsula. Here, overlooking the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, stands the Piri Reis Candelabra, a massive geoglyph that continues to baffle archaeologists, historians, and explorers alike. Stretching nearly 600 ft in length, the Paracus Candelabra's stark lines carve a brilliant figure into the desert sands and rock face, visible from miles out at sea. Its shape, reminiscent of a giant candelabrum or trident, commands attention. Yet its origin and meaning remain shrouded in mystery. The figure was first documented by Western explorers in the 19th century, though local indigenous peoples were well aware of its presence long before. Despite its scale and prominence, the Paracus Candelabra's purpose is elusive, its history woven with as many questions as answers. Set against the backdrop of the arid desert cliffs and the endless ocean horizon, the geoglyph seems almost otherworldly, an ancient signpost visible not only from the land, but designed to be seen from the sea or even the sky. Could it have been a navigational marker for seafarers who once plied these waters? Or was it a sacred symbol with spiritual significance to the Paracus culture that thrived here more than 2,000 years ago? The Paracus culture, known for its advanced textile artistry and sophisticated knowledge of cranial surgery, inhabited this region from approximately 800 BCE to 100 BCE. Yet while much has been uncovered about their daily lives and burial practices, the geoglyph's exact origins and its creators remain uncertain. No clear written records exist to explain the candelabra's meaning, leaving us to piece together clues from the landscape and the culture itself. Mainstream archaeological interpretations often propose that the Paracus Candelabra served as a landmark for sailors navigating the treacherous coastline. Its massive scale and clear visibility from the ocean seem to support this practical explanation. Indeed, in an era before modern instruments, such monumental markers could have been essential for safe passage, guiding fishermen and traders along the Peruvian coast. However, other elements complicate this narrative. Unlike the nearby Nazca, lines, which are a series of intricate geoglyphs with clear connections to ritual and cosmology, the Paracus candelabra stands alone, isolated and without obvious ceremonial counterparts in its immediate vicinity. Why dedicate such immense effort to a solitary design? What significance could this symbol have held to those who carved it into the earth? The design itself is provocative. Some see in its form echoes of a trident, others a candelabrum or even the root of a plant. Theories range from it representing a lightning rod or a symbol of a local deity to a marker for underground water sources in the arid desert. Yet none of these interpretations fully satisfy the depth of curiosity the geoglyph evokes. Intriguingly, the Paracus candelabra also bears a striking resemblance to the trident symbol associated with Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea. Could this be mere coincidence or evidence of ancient cross-cultural connections that defy our current understanding? Though no direct links have been established, such parallels invite us to consider the possibilities of shared ancient symbolism or lost exchanges across continents. More speculative theories propose the candelabra as an ancient astronomical marker or a coded map of celestial alignments designed by a culture deeply attuned to the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. Could it be that this vast figure on the land functioned as a terrestrial compass, orienting its creators to the heavens? Such ideas find echoes in the broader mystery of geoglyphs across the Americas and beyond, where lines, figures, and symbols carved into the earth may have held layers of meaning, both practical and sacred. Yet without definitive evidence, these remain hypotheses, tantalizing but unresolved. Even the material itself adds to the enigma. The candelabra is carved directly into the sandy soil and rocky outcrops, exposed to centuries of harsh weathering by wind and sun. Its endurance is a testament to the skill and intention of its creators, yet its weathered surface also complicates efforts to date or analyze it precisely. Local legend weaves another thread into this tapestry. Some indigenous tales speak of the candelabra as a marker of a path taken by gods or celestial beings, a symbol left by visitors from the skies guiding travelers or conveying messages beyond human understanding. The Paracus candelabra sits at the intersection of natural wonder and human ingenuity. It invites us to ponder the capacity of ancient peoples to imprint meaning on the landscape to communicate across time and space. What motivated them to create such a vast and enduring image? As we gaze upon this figure carved into the earth and silhouetted against the vast ocean, the candelabra challenges our assumptions about history and human expression. Is it a navigational tool, a spiritual symbol, a cosmic map, or something else entirely? And so the mystery persists. The Paracus candelabra remains an open question, a silent sentinel etched into the Peruvian desert, inviting us to explore not only the land, but the depths of human imagination and the unknown. What stories remain buried beneath the sands? What secrets did the Paracus culture entrust to the earth? And how many more of these ancient messages lie hidden, waiting to be discovered? As we continue this journey through the unsolved mysteries of our world, the candelabra reminds us that sometimes the most profound enigmas are those carved in plain sight, beckoning us to look closer, to listen carefully, and to wonder. Would you like to proceed to the next mystery, or pause here, letting the ancient symbol linger in your thoughts as the sun sets over the Peruvian coast? From the silent, sun-baked corridors of Shepsiskov's mastaba in Egypt, we now journey across seas and centuries to the study of an artifact that maps both geography and enigma. The Piri Reis Map, a fragment of early 16th century siggraphy whose origins and content continue to captivate historians, geographers, and mystery seekers alike. Unlike stone or bronze monuments, this artifact is fragile, a piece of paper, meticulously drawn, yet it contains a world far larger than its physical dimensions would suggest. Discovered in 1929 in the Topkapi Palace Library in Istanbul, the Piri Reis Map is a fragment of a larger world map created by the Ottoman admiral and seagrapher Piri Reis in 1513. Its survival through 5 centuries is remarkable. The thin parchment bears the careful strokes of ink depicting coastlines with precision, islands with identifiable contours and geographical features that for its time were astonishingly accurate. Yet it is not merely the technical skill that draws attention, it is the mysteries encoded within the map, raising questions that challenge conventional histories of exploration. The fragment primarily depicts the western coasts of Europe and North Africa alongside the eastern coastline of South America. Scholars have noted the precision with which these coastlines are rendered, suggesting that Piri Reis drew upon multiple sources, including Portuguese, Spanish, and perhaps even earlier maps lost to history. The map's level of detail for the Atlantic coasts is remarkable, yet the most intriguing aspect lies in its depiction of Antarctica, apparently free of ice, long before its official discovery in 1820. How could a 16th century Ottoman admiral represent a continent unknown to his contemporaries? Was he copying from ancient sources, or does the map hint at lost knowledge now buried in time? The Piri Reis Map is not merely a geographical tool, it is a convergence of science, exploration, and artistry. Its coastlines are drawn with attention to curvature, bays, rivers, and mountains, revealing a sophisticated understanding of navigation. Yet some details defy explanation. The southern continent's topography, in particular, seems to align with geological knowledge only confirmed in the 20th century. Did Piri Reis possess access to ancient maps, oral traditions, or exploratory records that have since vanished? Or could the map reflect a combination of empirical observation and interpretive conjecture, blending knowledge with imagination in a way that transcends ordinary geography? Historical documentation provides partial insight. Piri Reis himself claimed to have used about 20 charts and mappi mundi as sources, including maps from Columbus and other explorers. The fragmentary nature of these sources complicates modern verification. How faithful were these copied charts? Were they themselves derived from now lost ancient knowledge, possibly predating even the age of discovery? The map invites speculation as it straddles the boundary between known history and the tantalizing suggestion of undiscovered or forgotten knowledge. Beyond its potential pre-Odin insight into Antarctica, the map contains notations and annotations in Ottoman Turkish describing islands, coasts, and distances. These inscriptions offer glimpses into Pirak's methodology and worldview. Yet they raise as many questions as they answer. Certain islands appear with remarkable accuracy while others are distorted or represented symbolically. Does this indicate limitations in information, errors in copying, or intentional choices to convey symbolic rather than literal meanings? The interplay between precision and anomaly invites scrutiny and deep reflection on the nature of historical geography. Modern scholars have examined the map using a variety of tools, including geodic analysis, satellite imaging, and historical reconstruction. Comparisons between the map's depictions and modern coastlines reveal a combination of astonishing accuracy and puzzling discrepancies. Some features, such as the orientation of South America, match known geography closely, while others, particularly in the southern hemisphere, remain inexplicably precise given the purported knowledge of the time. How could such accuracy exist centuries before systematic surveying, satellite mapping, or even global circumnavigation? The Piri Reis Map also sparks questions about the transmission of knowledge across cultures. As an Ottoman admiral, Piri Reis would have had access to diverse sources, including European maps, Mediterranean nautical charts, and possibly older records preserved by seafarers. Could there have been ancient, globally distributed knowledge of coastlines, oceans, and even Antarctica that has since been lost? Or does the map represent the remarkable ingenuity of Renaissance-era scholars synthesizing fragmented reports into a coherent, though occasionally mysterious whole? Its origins remain a subject of debate, highlighting the complex pathways by which information traveled in pre-Odin civilizations. Symbolically, the map embodies a convergence of curiosity, exploration, and human ambition. It is not merely a record of geography. It is a statement of intellectual reach, a tangible manifestation of the desire to understand and document the world. Piri Reis's meticulous detailing reflects both empirical observation and interpretive skill, suggesting a mind attuned to patterns, relationships, and the unknown. Was this artifact meant primarily as a practical tool for navigation, a record of knowledge, or a statement of mastery over the unknown seas? The answers remain elusive. The fragmentary nature of the map adds to its mystery. Only 1/6 of the original is known to survive, leaving the majority lost to time. What secrets did the complete map contain? Could other portions have clarified the depiction of the southern continent, or provided annotations that would explain anomalies? The surviving fragment tantalizes modern scholars with glimpses of information, now inaccessible, encouraging ongoing investigation and wonder. Some researchers have suggested that the map's anomalies, especially the ice-free depiction of Antarctica, hint at ancient surveying techniques, possibly predating the advent of modern exploration. Others propose that the map incorporates a mixture of myth, hearsay, and practical knowledge, blending imagination with observation. Regardless of interpretation, the Piri Reis Map remains a symbol of the enduring human desire to chart the unknown, to reconcile the visible world with unseen forces and mysteries beyond immediate perception. The map also encourages reflection on the limits of historical understanding. How much knowledge from the past has been irretrievably lost? How many charts, instruments, and observations vanished over centuries, leaving tantalizing fragments like this one to spark speculation and study? The Piri Reis Map, in its precision and its ambiguity, stands as a bridge between what was known, what was imagined, and what remains forever uncertain. Walking along the fragile parchment lines, tracing coastlines drawn 5 centuries ago, one can almost envision Piri Reis himself at work, consulting multiple charts, recording observations, and contemplating distant lands and unseen horizons. Each line and annotation carries both practical intent and intellectual curiosity, embodying a culture of exploration and scholarly synthesis. Yet the map's most compelling message may not be about geography at all. It is a reminder of the mysteries that persist, the questions unanswered, and the ingenuity of human thought reaching beyond its time. As we examine the Piri Reis Map, a question arises that bridges history, science, and imagination. How did Piri Reis and his sources acquire knowledge of lands far beyond their immediate experience? And what other fragments of ancient understanding might lie hidden, waiting to be rediscovered? The answers remain tantalizingly out of reach, but the map endures as a testament to human curiosity, observation, and the drive to understand a world larger than oneself. Its lines, inscriptions, and enigmatic details invite us to consider not only the geography it depicts, but also the cultural, intellectual, and historical contexts that made such an artifact possible. And in contemplating its mysteries, we are reminded that the pursuit of knowledge is both ancient and ongoing, a journey as compelling today as it was 5 centuries ago. From the delicate lines and cryptic coastlines of the Piri Reis Map, we now turn our gaze to objects of a very different nature, yet no less mysterious in their allure. The crystal skulls scattered across museums and private collections are artifacts that defy easy categorization. Made of clear or milky quartz carved with uncanny precision into the shape of human skulls, they evoke both awe and unease. Their surfaces are smooth, polished, and eerily lie-like, capturing the intricate anatomy of the human cranium in a way that suggests both technical mastery and symbolic intention. The origins of these skulls remain shrouded in uncertainty. Many are purportedly Mesoamerican, linked to the Aztec, Maya, or other ancient cultures of Central America. Yet definitive archaeological provenance is often elusive. Some are said to have been unearthed from burial sites, caves, or temple ruins. Others have surfaced in private hands without clear documentation. This lack of concrete historical context amplifies their mystique. How could ancient artisans working with hand tools, far less sophisticated than modern equipment, produce such precise carvings in one of the hardest materials on Earth? The craftsmanship of the crystal skulls is remarkable. Each one reflects an intimate understanding of the human skull's form, the curvature of the forehead, the hollows of the eye sockets, the intricate contours of the jaw and teeth. Scientific analysis shows that some skulls contain internal features and details that suggest not only meticulous observation, but also extraordinary skill in manipulating quartz, a mineral that can fracture unpredictably if handled incorrectly. How were these artisans able to shape the crystal so precisely? And what tools or techniques could have allowed them to achieve such a high degree of refinement centuries before industrial diamond-tipped drills existed? Beyond their technical intrigue, the crystal skulls are imbued with layers of cultural and symbolic significance. Skulls across many ancient societies often represent mortality, wisdom, and the threshold between life and death. In Mesoamerican traditions, the skull can signify both human sacrifice and spiritual insight, connecting the living with the divine. Could these quartz skulls have served ritualistic purposes, acting as vessels for spiritual energy, conduits for communication with the afterlife, or ceremonial objects in sacred rites? The possibility resonates across millennia, hinting at a worldview where the material and spiritual were intimately intertwined. Scientific examination of the skulls has generated both clarity and mystery. Some studies indicate that tool marks are consistent with modern carving methods, suggesting that certain skulls may be post-Coelian creations influenced by European fascination with exotic artifacts. Yet, others defy such straightforward explanation, exhibiting wear patterns, microscopic striations, and internal geometries that are difficult to reproduce with known tools even today. Could these anomalies indicate unknown ancient techniques lost to time, or even methods deliberately hidden to preserve ritual secrecy? The evidence leaves room for speculation, yet remains grounded in empirical observation, demanding careful interpretation. The allure of the crystal skulls is amplified by their apparent universality and uncanny realism. Unlike stylized representations common in ancient art, these skulls often resemble anatomically accurate human crania with astonishing fidelity. This realism sparks a unique tension. They are at once deeply human and undeniably otherworldly. Some researchers note that certain skulls resonate at specific frequencies when subjected to vibration, hinting at potential ritualistic or acoustic properties. Could the skulls have been designed to interact with sound or energy, functioning in ways beyond mere symbolic representation? Or are such properties coincidental artifacts of the crystalline structure itself? Legends surrounding the skulls contribute to their enduring mystique. Popular accounts suggest that they possess mystical or healing powers, or that they carry encoded knowledge from lost civilizations. While these claims cannot be substantiated scientifically, they reflect the profound impact that these objects have had on human imagination and cultural storytelling. The skulls straddle the boundary between archaeology, mythology, and human fascination with the unknown, offering a canvas onto which centuries of curiosity and speculation have been projected. Some skulls are said to align with astronomical or geological events, though evidence is limited and debated. Enthusiasts propose that certain quartz carvings could function as markers of celestial cycles or repositories of encoded cosmological information. Could ancient peoples have possessed advanced observational knowledge, translating it into physical forms such as these skulls? Or are we imposing modern interpretations onto objects whose original purpose has been lost to time? The mystery persists, inviting careful contemplation and open-ended inquiry. The global fascination with crystal skulls also highlights the interplay between human perception and artifact. When viewed in museum light, the quartz seems almost alive, capturing and refracting ambient illumination in ways that evoke motion or consciousness. This optical phenomenon can amplify emotional response, creating a sense of connection that transcends the material object. Could this interplay of light and form have been intentional, designed to elicit spiritual or psychological effects during ritual? Or is it an incidental property of crystal magnified by centuries of human attention and interpretation? In examining the skulls, researchers have attempted to reconcile empirical data with cultural context. Some skulls are consistent with known Mesoamerican symbolism, suggesting they were used in ritual or ceremonial settings. Others, however, appear anomalous. Their craftsmanship, origin, or dating challenges, conventional timelines, and known technological capabilities. These anomalies spark questions not only about the skulls themselves, but about broader understandings of ancient knowledge, skill, and cultural exchange. Could ancient civilizations have possessed methods now lost to history, or even ideas that challenge our current assumptions about technological development? The debate surrounding the crystal skulls also underscores the intersection of archaeology, anthropology, and folklore. Each skull embodies layers of historical evidence, cultural memory, and modern interpretation. In some cases, provenance disputes cloud understanding, while in others, laboratory analysis reveals insights into carving techniques and material sourcing. Yet despite these investigations, the skulls continue to resist definitive categorization. Their very ambiguity is part of their power. They exist at the nexus of knowledge and mystery, demanding respect for both empirical inquiry and the enduring human fascination with the unknown. Walking among the skulls in museum collections or viewing them in high-resolution photography, one is struck by a sense of temporal and spatial dislocation. These objects, carved from ancient quartz and preserved through centuries, seem to carry a whisper of a distant time and place, connecting us to human hands that observed, conceptualized, and shaped the material world in extraordinary ways. What did these ancient artisans intend to communicate? And how much of that meaning has been obscured by the passage of time? Even the most skeptical analysis cannot erase the aesthetic and conceptual impact of the crystal skulls. They challenge our expectations of what is possible with pre-industrial technology, invite reflection on ancient ritual and belief, and evoke a sense of wonder that bridges past and present. Could they have been intended as objects of power, designed to embody spiritual authority, or as ceremonial tools facilitating communication with the divine? Or are they simply expressions of artistic skill whose symbolic meaning has been lost? The uncertainty itself is a central part of their enduring fascination. As we consider the crystal skulls, a question lingers, echoing across centuries. What knowledge, intention, or insight was encoded within these carved forms? And how much of that understanding has been lost to time? Despite rigorous study, the skulls retain their aura of mystery, standing as silent witnesses to human ingenuity, curiosity, and imagination. They remind us that even the most tangible artifacts can carry layers of unseen meaning. That skill and symbolism often intertwine in ways that defy easy explanation. In the quartz contours and lie-like features of the crystal skulls, we find a bridge to ancient minds, a prompt to reflect on the interplay of art, science, ritual, and the unknown. The crystal skulls endure not only as physical objects, but as symbols of humanity's enduring fascination with mystery. the quest to understand the past, and the subtle, persistent pull of enigmas that resist resolution. Their allure lies not in the certainty of their origin or purpose, but in the questions they pose, inviting each generation to explore, wonder, and imagine what might still lie hidden within human history, skill, and belief. From the polished quartz forms of the crystal skulls, objects that capture human imagination through their material perfection, we now journey back tens of thousands of years to the shadows of a different kind of human creation. One wrought not from stone alone, but from pigment, firelight, and imagination. Deep in the limestone cliffs of Cantabria, northern Spain, lies the cave of Altamira, a sanctuary of early human expression whose walls bear some of the most extraordinary prehistoric art ever discovered. Walking into these chambers, one is immediately struck by a sense of temporal displacement. The air seems to carry whispers of voices long silent, and the walls glow with images that survived millennia of darkness and geological change. The cave is narrow and sinuous, twisting like a hidden artery through the rocky hillside. Its ceilings are low, and the walls curve unpredictably, creating pockets of shadow where the paintings seem to come alive under flickering light. When Marcelino Sanz do Sautuola first entered these chambers in 1879, he was confronted by depictions of bison, horses, and deer rendered with astonishing naturalism and vitality. The animals appear to move across the rock surface, muscles taut, heads lowered or turned, as if frozen mid-stride. But these are not mere static images. The contours of the limestone, the use of shading and perspective, and the subtle application of ochre and charcoal combine to produce a dynamic, almost three-dimensional effect. Could the artists have intentionally exploited the irregularities of the rock to convey movement and life? Or was this a remarkable coincidence born of instinct and observation? Radio Arbon dating places the most famous paintings at around 36,000 years ago, making them not only some of the earliest known examples of human art, but also evidence of a sophisticated cognitive and symbolic capacity in Upper Paleolithic humans. These early artists possessed a keen understanding of proportion, anatomy, and environment, skills that required careful observation and the ability to translate perception into abstraction. How did these hunter-gatherer societies living in challenging conditions with no modern tools develop such refined artistic techniques? And why invest such energy and skill in images that would be hidden deep underground, inaccessible to daily life? The technique of the Altamira painters was extraordinary. They used mineral pigments, reds, yellows, and blacks derived from hematite, ochre, and charcoal. These materials were ground and mixed, sometimes with animal fat or plant extracts, producing colors that have retained their vibrancy for tens of millennia. The artists applied these pigments using fingers, brushes made from hair or fibers, and even rudimentary blowpipes, creating fine lines and subtle gradients. The choice of color and placement is deliberate, emphasizing musculature, depth, and movement. Could these artistic decisions have served ritualistic purposes, communicating spiritual or cultural knowledge to those initiated into specific traditions? Interpretations of Altamira remain varied and speculative, reflecting both the richness of the site and the limitations of our understanding. Many scholars propose that the paintings were part of hunting magic or sympathetic ritual intended to ensure success in the hunt by depicting the animals in lie-like forms. Others suggest that they represented storytelling, cosmology, or shamanistic experiences, a visual language connecting humans with unseen forces in the natural world. The accuracy and vitality of the images hint at profound observation, but also at a level of abstraction that transcends mere replication, suggesting symbolic or spiritual intent. The cave's ceiling, where the bison herd is depicted in sweeping arcs, is particularly captivating. Viewed from the flickering light of torches, the figures appear to gallop, twist, and shift as the observer moves. This dynamism implies that the artists understood not only anatomical accuracy, but also the psychology of perception. How light, shadow, and movement can animate a surface. Did these early humans recognize this effect intuitively? Or was it part of a carefully crafted ritual experience designed to evoke awe, fear, or reverence? The answers remain tantalizingly out of reach. Some features of the cave complicate interpretation further. Certain areas contain abstract symbols, dots, lines, and geometric motifs interspersed with animal depictions. Their meaning is unknown, though they suggest an additional layer of symbolic or cognitive sophistication. Were these marks a form of praetoriting, a mnemonic device, or a spiritual language whose understanding was confined to initiates? Or are they simply aesthetic embellishments designed to complement the vivid representations of fauna? The ambiguity invites reflection on the nature of human thought and expression at a time when oral tradition dominated communication. The Altamira paintings also offer insight into the relationship between humans and their environment. The animals represented are not random. They correspond to species present in the region during the Upper Paleolithic. Their prominence may reflect ecological knowledge, spiritual symbolism, or social importance. By depicting these creatures, the artists were documenting their world, interpreting its rhythms, and perhaps negotiating their own place within it. Could the cave itself, deep underground and removed from the sun, have held symbolic significance as a liminal space, a bridge between the mundane world and the spiritual or ancestral realm? Preservation has been a persistent challenge. For centuries, the cave remained sealed and largely undisturbed, which contributed to the survival of pigments. Yet modern exposure to light, humidity, and human presence threatens these ancient masterpieces. The fragility of the site mirrors the delicate balance between discovery and conservation, raising questions about how humanity engages with its distant past. How can we study, interpret, and appreciate such art without compromising its survival? And what ethical obligations do we have to protect these portals into prehistoric cognition and creativity? The mystery of Altamira extends beyond technique and symbolism to questions of human cognition. The cave demonstrates that early humans possessed not only practical skills for survival, but also advanced capacity for abstraction, symbolism, and intentional design. These abilities suggest that cognitive development and artistic expression emerged far earlier than often assumed, challenging simplistic narratives about the evolution of intelligence and culture. What inspired these early artists to transform pigment into lie-like forms deep underground? And how did their creations shape communal identity, ritual, or knowledge transmission? Walking through the chambers, one senses a dialogue across time. The bison seem to move with a vitality that transcends millennia, and the geometric symbols pulse with meaning we can only guess at. The cave invites reflection on human creativity, perception, and the enduring impulse to leave traces of existence to encode understanding, belief, and experience in durable form. Every brushstroke, every contour carries evidence of observation, intention, and perhaps reverence for the natural and spiritual worlds. Even today, scholars continue to debate the deeper significance of the cave. Was it a site of initiation, a temple of sorts, or simply a place to honor and record the creatures that sustained human life? Were the paintings intended for an audience of the living, the dead, or spirits unseen? The absence of definitive answers fuels the ongoing fascination with Altamira, reminding us that even the earliest chapters of human history are complex, layered, and partially obscured by time. As we linger in the glow of imagined torchlight, a question emerges that bridges past and present. What compelled these ancient humans to invest extraordinary effort and skill in images hidden deep underground? And what meanings, beliefs, or knowledge were encoded within these paintings that remain inaccessible to us today? The Cave of Altamira endures as both artifact and enigma, a profound testament to the imagination, observation, and spirituality of our distant ancestors. It challenges us to reconsider assumptions about prehistoric life, cognitive capacity, and the ways humans have sought to understand and engage with the world. In the vibrant bison, the carefully shaded forms, and the cryptic symbols etched into limestone, we glimpse the intersection of survival, ritual, and artistic expression, a timeless invitation to marvel, ponder, and continue the exploration of mysteries that defy easy explanation.